Crisis City too. I don't know. I'm just DMing you. I'll just tell you while you're here. Your friendly neighbourhood Scottish Marxist is live. Random cares because I'm lazy as fuck. We'll just finish it. All right. Rejoice, comrades. Some random geek is lurking in the void. Watch out for the tardigrades. Geek. And yes, everyone who might see this, go and follow some random geek. He be based. Or they be based. He, they. Or ze. They be based. Hi, geek. Oh. Someone needs to go and use the facilities. Oh, he's opened both the windows, that's why I'm a bit chilly. Mind you, insane, I've been sweating quite badly today because sun. Oh, no. I'll need to go and spam people. Let's just go to the blue room. Self promo. Go. Joyce Conrads. Your friendly neighbourhood Scottish Marxist is live. Oh, hello. Goodbye. Going. I am doubtful many evolutionaries will be awake. There was promotion. I did miss a stream earlier on because I was not in the house. Oh, let's see who I'll shout out next. Rejoice, evolutionaries. Your friendly neighbourhood Scottish Marxist is live. Random. Chaos. It's always because I'm lazy as fuck. Hang on. Plug yourself. I'll plug myself in my own channel. Rejoice. Followers of Mountain Moon live. Random kids. And choose because I'm lazy. Channel. Manager. Channel. Ah! Manager. I'm a numpty. Me numpty. Give me my chat, goddamn you. Shout out at KF Logan. 1.74 TV based. Right. The Brummy Comrade. He be based. He be British. He be English. He be cricket and football fan. He be a snarky bastard like me. Shout out Helena. No Justice, MTG. That is Helena. She be based. She be Titoist. We do love Helena. She is better at the economics. And obviously a leftist. Kev good for the snark in history. And how politicians are total wanks. Funny that. Rejoice, still wearing the makeup. Still feeling quite good on actually. Forget how bright this blusher is that I've used. Right. No, I've read it already. Oh no, I haven't read that one. Where did I put it? Oh no, it wasn't me. I think it might be in Far Right Wankery. Ah, bugger. Far Right Wankery? Where is that story? Cancel. Far Right Wankery. Where is it? It's after that. It's after that. Greetings! Rejoice, new comrade. Hello, Cool Whip. Hello. I am MadCat79 Scotty Eye. Or Kitty Marshall 4340 on the YouTubes. I am a Scottish disabled Marxist. I talk about health and disability issues as well as politics and other assorted things. Hello, hello. You can be kind of antagonistic if you wish, but please be warned, I can and will ban you. I deal with people at times. Welcome in though, hello. Do you be UK based, Europe based, or are you the other side of the Atlantic? Or technically east is that way for me. I be in Glasgow, the best city in the world. Glasgow, Scotland, by the way. If you can't tell by the accent. Well, technically I sound like from my hometown. Scottish disabled Marxist. Talk about politics, health and disability issues. I be in Glasgow, the best city. Feel free to visit Glasgow. What is happening? Things are happening. Ah! The Dead Jester? It's a cool name. Thank you for the follow, Dead Jester. Welcome in. Ah! You go down there. Ah, yeah. Right. Bin. Yes, get rid of screen capture. You're not capturing it. What good are you if you're not capturing what I'm looking at? Yes, capture. I will get good at this, trust me. That window, if you please. Done. Ha. Oh, Christ, that's a bit big. That is better. Is it in general then? Where is that? Oh, right, just got put in general. Okay. This is from the AFP. You be from Wiltshire. Hello, English comrade. Welcome, welcome. I hope fiery yellow orb did not annoy you. It was kind of hot up here. I went and visited my family. I'm from Perth. And it was 23 and hardly any cloud cover. And as you can tell, even with fucking foundation and makeup on, I get really pale. I kind of burn. This is from the AFP, which is a French publication. This needs to be read. This is from 4 days ago. So it might have gotten a lot worse. Without immediate intervention, the last reporters in Gaza will die. Not an understatement. AFP has been working with 1 writer, 3 photographers, and 6 videographers, all freelance. Oh, God. Oh, no, I can't. Oh. in the Gaza Strip since staff journalists left last year, 2024. Along with a few others, they are now the only ones left to report what is happening in the Gaza Strip. The international press has been banned from entering the territory for nearly 2 years. You're from near Glasgow. Would you say like a bus or car journey then? Hello, Digester. Welcome. Because I was away visiting my family up in Perth, well, even if I wasn't doing that, as much as I despise the bastard and him being this close to me, I didn't go out and protest with that tangerine tyrant being in my country. Or our country. I say jokingly, it is my country, because obviously it is. All intelligent female here, by the way. I do have friends and family members who live in the Aberdeen area, and he goes up to many, and they'll be protesting that bastard. My uncle lives up there. And he plays golf. He has played golf up there. Your love doesn't know borders. Good. Excuse me while I get some refreshment. The poison of choice tonight is inches, because it'd be tasty and kind of cheap. Okay. Fuck, I'll start it again. Right. AFP has been working with 1 writer, 3 photographers, 6 videographers, all freelance, got to stop doing that, in the Gaza Strip since its staff journalists left in 2024. Along with a few others, they are now the only ones left to report what is happening in the Gaza Strip. The international press has been banned from entering the territory for nearly 2 years. We refuse to watch them die. Good. One of them, Bashar, has been working with AFP since 2010. First as a fixer, basically fixing issues with the equipment and stuff, I believe, if I got that right. Come back. Then a freelance photographer, and since 2024 as lead photographer. Oh, good for him. On July 19th, roughly a week ago, he managed to post a message to Facebook. I no longer have the strength to work for the media. My body is thin and I cannot work anymore. What the fuck? Bashar, 30 years old, works and lives in the same conditions as all Gazans, moving from one refugee camp to another under Israeli bombings. For more than a year, he has lived in utter destitution, working at extreme risk to his life. Hygiene is a major issue for him, with recurring bouts of severe intestinal illness. Good. Rejoice, comrades. Sozzled Snake is here. Hi, Sozzled. Someone posted this in my Discord and I feel it needs to be read. If you want to go and read it yourself from my Discord, feel free to. Since February, Bashar's been living in the ruins of his home in Gaza City with his mother, 4 brothers and sisters, and the family of one of his brothers. Too many people in a small area. The house is devoid of any furnishings except for a few cushions. I do indeed like football. Let's just say my favourite colour is green. Don't get me wrong, I have friends who are Rangers fans and Thistle fans for other sins. I shouldn't laugh, really. I like Firhill, it's a brilliant stadium. On Sunday morning, so that'd be the 20th. Yeah, that's right. On Sunday morning, he reported that one of his brothers had fallen due to hunger. You're a Queen's Park fan? Holy fuck. So you're the other side of the river? Well, you said near Glasgow. This is just wrong in all kinds of ways. Even though these journalists receive a monthly salary from AFP, it's no longer enough to buy food. You in Hamilton? My sister used to live there. She's in Denniston now. It's no longer enough to buy food. That is fucked. Or they have to pay completely exorbitant prices. Fuck. Correct, Cool Whip. Yes, I'm a Marxist. You can think of me as like an eco-socialist. I'm a member of the Scottish Greens. Ah, stop doing that, you numpty. The banking system has collapsed. No shit. Repeated bombing might do that to a fucking society. And those who exchange money via online bank accounts charge a commission of up to 40%. Ugh. AFP no longer has the ability to provide them with a vehicle, and there's not enough fuel to allow these journalists to travel for the reporting. Fuck. Driving a car means becoming a target for Israeli airstrikes. It does. AFP reporters therefore travel by foot or by donkey cart. They've been taken back to the fucking Middle Ages. This is fucking ridiculous. Huh. I can educate you, don't you worry. Trust me, I won't force my ideology on you. I will tell you what it is like as a lived experience for myself, obviously. Oh no, the public's different. The public's many, many different things, obviously. Each person's living situation is different, obviously. Alan, located in the south of the enclave, is holding on to testify as long as she can. I wish her all my luck. Every time I leave the tent to cover an event, do an interview, or document a story, I don't know if I'll come back alive. Correct. Our biggest issue, she confirms, is the lack of food and water. Yeah. We're all kind of pig-headed in some ways, obviously. We are not a monolith. Two of my best friends, the best friend who introduced me to my super hubby who is now in bed, he is a Catholic. He is also an ML. They do not conflict with each other. But he was born and brought up a Catholic. He still holds true to the teachings of Christ as far as he is concerned or aware of, but he's still communist. Mother will spirits. Oh God, I've actually been in both of those stadiums, Sozzled. The one I must say, none of these two stadiums, obviously. The one, I'm sorry, Ayr, I really do. But Ayr Stadium's probably one of the worst I've been in. I've never been in my hometown's original stadium, which was Muirton Park. That was St Johnstone. They're now in McDermott. They have been for a while, since I was in secondary school. I remember watching McDermott getting built. I am that old. The number in my name is the year I was born, by the way. Have you been up to McDermott? Nice one. I love McDermott. It is a lovely stadium. It's never full though. Things are happening. What is happening? Oh, thank you, Sozold. Much respect. I can't. You know what? I will make it easy. I'll open the screen capture for a second. Yeah, get rid of it for a minute. Yay! Thank you very much. Wow. That place is on my bucket list. I've managed to make it to Inverness, Fort William, Oban, Troon, Saltcoats, Ayr itself, Dalry, Zanker. I think that's the further south I've been in Scotland actually. Haven't quite made it down to Dumfries. It is on the bucket list. I've been up to most of the east coast, so Dundee was just up the road from my hometown. So Perth grew up, Dundee, Stonehaven, Banchory, Pitlochry, Aberdeen, family up there. Haven't made it to Bangor, Buchan and Banff. I can't pronounce, I can't speak honestly. I know Motherwell fans. I also know Kilmarnock fans for all their sins as well, poor bastards. My husband's former brother-in-law, so his eldest sister's husband, they're divorced now. He was a Motherwell fan. Ah, Rugby Park isn't bad. Oh God, it's not called Love Street anymore. Showing my age now, calling it Love Street. It's in Merrin Park or something now. I can't remember. Pittodrie, sorry Aberdeen, but you need to upgrade Pittodrie. Tynecastle? Mm. I cannot remember what is on my watch list. Oops. So used to it being divided. Yep, like that. Screen capture. Azores. Azores. No. No. Azores. Thank you. Oh God, too far over. Move. Haha. There we go. Watch this space. I will be covering Holyrood next year. You can watch me lose my shit over the election in May. That shall be fun. I'm going to try and visit at least 4 or 5 constituencies. I'm going to try and find out what the ones with the smallest majority is for the actual constituencies, because there ain't no way I'm going to be able to visit all the ones that have list. I could visit all the different list areas in Glasgow because I just need to get a local bus, and probably do the same for my hometown of Perth, which will be 3 different list areas, and I can get to them on bus as well. But getting to the other constituencies and all the lists for them, like further up the west coast, there ain't no way I'm going to be able to get up to Orkney or Shetland, obviously, because too expensive and I don't travel that well. Plus, I'm not allowed to travel for more than an hour and a half, roughly, because of circulatory issues. I get blood clots. The best atmosphere I've ever been in, sorry, Celtic Park. Don't get me wrong, some of the best, some of the most enjoyable times have been in McDermott and, oddly enough, Ibrox. My dad was a Rangers fan. Don't worry, I'm on blood thinners. Oh! Ooh.
This is what a lot of us have been waiting for. The Formula...
Have to pause you for a second there, Owen, so I can actually hear you. See, I sneak. The one without a phone case, simless. Because reasons. One in phone case, and phone case be lovely, has a sim. They're both still my account. And I can take photos and stuff with both of them. That's the problem. Don't get the midfield's still not to my liking. I'm just remembering the glory days, really. Plus, there's players that we've had recently over the last couple of seasons, but they've gone now. The problem is, like my stepdad says to me, said we've got too complacent. And I can see where he's coming from, really. He was born and brought up in Perth, by the way. He has never been a he's never been a Saints fan. Too many religious connotations. That upsets me. Digisozzled. Yay! My younger sister has, up in Perth. There needs to be an electoral pact, because if they manage to establish themselves, they're not going to be able to do it for Holyrood. It takes a while to get everything up and running and actually create the party structure. There's not enough time for them to actually field people up here for Holyrood elections. But if they get their act together quite quickly, they might be able to run in 2029. Watch this space, I guess. So I am looking forward to it. I'll be keeping a close eye, obviously. I would never force anyone to subscribe to the way I believe and the way I see the world. Obviously, I am here to educate. Feel free to ask questions.
Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn and the brilliant young former Labour MP Zara Sultana, they've got together and they're launching this new political pie. What's it dedicated to? Things like taxing the booming rich so we can invest in our collapsing services and infrastructure, bringing our utilities, our public services into public ownership so they're not cash cows for profiteers, solving the housing crisis rather than, lining the pockets of property developers, not punishing young people with debt because they dared to dream of a university education that all of us in society benefit from, securing workers and trade unions the rights they need, they deserve, a welfare state that offers security rather than poverty, tackling the climate emergency to both protect our species, which I think would be ideal really, but also create decent jobs and improve living standards, and, pretty importantly, a foreign policy based on peace and justice rather than, say, arming a genocide. Now, millions of people support these sorts of policies. Amongst the general population, they're mainstream. But the political elite, the Tories, Labour, Reform, they've conspired to shut those millions of people out of politics, to smear them as dangerous extremists for believing in what actually should just be common sense. And that's because it means challenging the power and wealth of the sort of people that this cartel exists to represent and champion. Now, yesterday, Corbyn and Sultana announced a new party will be founded. It doesn't have a name yet. It's got Your Party as a holding title, which is what a lot of the media became predictably obsessed with, because political reporting in Britain is about trivialities and personalities and soap opera. By 10 a.m. on Friday morning, 200,000 people had signed up already. I guess that's what, 250,000 plus now. We've included the link for this initiative in the video description. Make sure you click on it sign up and support it. I'll be fascinated to see how it evolves, about the policies it stands on, what it campaigns on, how it communicates, because the left really needs to play catch up with the right-wing extremists who, I'm afraid to say, have an often brilliant online strategy, and that's radicalising new recruits for their hateful cause. Crucially, I want to see how it develops its relationship with the Green Party. The brilliant Zach Polanski's standing to be leader of the Greens on a very similar sort of platform. As well as winning 4 seats at the last election, the Greens came second in 39 seats held by the Labour Party, including this very constituency I live in. There's also the independent candidates. I know 4 anti-genocide independent MPs are supporting this new initiative. I don't see what the likes of Liam Mohammed do. She's the prodigious young British Palestinian politician who came so...
Oh God, that's an unfortunate pause face. I can't quite remember what part Owen lives in, but he's in London. I wonder what street Owen actually lives in. I'm sure he's probably said in the past. Really should know. They are Cool Whip. They are. I am here to move minds. Change opinions, kind of. Like I say, I try not to force it on to everyone. I will give my perspective, obviously. There's no point in trying to force people. Appeal to their hearts and minds, if you can. Some people can't be reached. Trust me, I've tried. I've wasted too much energy on some people. Not worth it, really. I'm here for amenable minds, if you wish. Don't get me wrong, I won't turn anyone away unless you say something really fucking egregious. I read fiction, I read a lot of fiction, plus I read a lot of theory and a lot of kind of political analysis, so it depends on what you're looking for. If it's just a blind book recommendation for like fiction, I'm sci-fi and fantasy. So if you want any recommendations in that realm, ask away. Well, he's been pretty much the same since he's entered Parliament. Same year my sister was born. Please don't mention that to her. She'll yell at you. I've brought it up before that he entered politics when he was born. The 1983 election, by the way. So he's been there for over 40 years now. Plus he's been an activist in the past, so you pretty much know what his stance is. Basically being the same. But he's got that recognition. Most of the country know of this person. So I'd want to see Zara be the figurehead, actually be the leader. And if they want to do the co-leader model like the Greens do, I'd rather have her front and centre, but having Jeremy in the background. Because he knows how the system works. Obviously, he's been there for over 40 years. But she has such vision, and she's the clarity that she's saying it'll be great to see her actually out there reading, giving their message and stuff, doing interviews, blah, 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 whatever, things like of that nature. I want her front and centre because she'll have longevity because she's, what is she, 31 or 32, something like that? She's in her early or mid-30s. So she's got an entire fucking political career ahead of her. Christ, they wouldn't know, would they, sozzled? That's why I don't like the pair of them. Who's more egregious? Well, she doesn't really have much power. I think the more, if you're in this sort of position, Starmer's probably more egregious because he's the Prime Minister, obviously, and he will be meeting with Tangerine Tyrant. That will be fun for him. Oh, by the way, my hometown, the First Minister's the MSP for Perth. So Swinney is technically my family's MSP, but First Minister first. lot on his plate. Plus, he still does constituency work, obviously. I wonder how that went with him meeting them today. Ugh. I feel for you, John Swinney, having to meet with that bastard. I really do. Yeah, I'd be fine with that. Obviously, he's probably already telling Zara all the wee things that she needs to look out for, especially in the House of Commons, obviously. Did you see that Mary Black's done an interview? Was that Sopel? I'm sure that was Sopel. She was on the newsagents or something. Sure it was Sopel that she was talking to. That might be fun. I might go and find that, actually.
So close to defeating the hardcore Blairite health secretary we're streeting at the last election. We just can't end up with left-wing candidates standing against each other at the next election. It'd be a total disaster. That would mean Labour reform get in, and it would also just put people off. Last night I went on LBC to discuss this new party, and here's what I said.
Let's bring into the conversation Owen Jones, who's columnist with The Guardian. Owen, good to have you on. Thank you for joining us. Focusing on the Jeremy Corbyn party, first of all, I mean, how much of a threat do you think this is to Keir Starmer and the Labour government?
Well, I think it's a big threat. They're slightly less popular than cholera at the moment. I mean, look, they only won a third of the vote on the lowest turnout in British democratic history last time. They actually won less votes than Jeremy Corbyn did in 2019, and that was seen as shellacking. Obviously, I know how electoral system works, but largely because Reform split the right of centre vote, that's why they won a third of the vote and 2/3 of the seats. But the point is this: look, they came to power. They didn't have a vision for the country. They went for elderly people with a winter fuel payment. They went for disabled people. They threatened to drive hundreds of thousands into poverty. That blew up, and I think that's pretty instructive because their big USP were the grown-ups in the room were really competent, and actually they've been a shambolic mess. And as well as that, not addressing the longest squeeze in wages since the Battle of Waterloo, would you believe, in this country. I mean, we've had 2 lost generations pretty much of living standards. They're arming a genocide. Gaza has been drowned in blood, including with British arms. We still provide the key components for F-35 jets, which are shredding the bodies of little children. Gaza, as we can all see, is being starved to death deliberately by our ally. And I think the point is we need a different economic system at home, which is about taking on the wealthy interests who are booming like never before, redistributing that wealth, investing in public services, taking utilities into public ownership. I mean, just on that, privatisation, I think most people never really bought into, but unless you like swimming in excrement, I think people can see making utilities and services cash cows for profiteers has not worked very well. So it's about an alternative: public ownership, workers' rights, redistributing wealth and power, investing in public services, the climate emergency, and not committing genocide. I think these are things that actually millions of people support, which is why I think a lot of people who voted for Labour, hoping they get some substantial change, are frankly pretty angry and looking elsewhere at the moment.
You do accept, though, that it gives Nigel Farage a much better chance of becoming Prime Minister?
Nigel Farage is on course to be Prime Minister because his government's failed. I mean, look, they're way ahead in the opinion polls at the moment with no Jeremy Corbyn, this party, the name they're going to come up with, as they get people to sign up, tens of thousands. I just signed up before I came on air. So,
any name suggestions?
I'm not really a name party sort of guy, as long as it's not called Wibble or something.
Fine.
The People's Party, who knows? But, hopefully that'll be decided democratically. I think doing things behind closed doors, I think people don't really like that kind of stuff. No, but I think...
back to Nigel Farage, yeah.
Yeah, Nigel Farage is on course to win because people had Tory rule and they thought it was a disaster. People were left worse off than they were when the Tories came to power. They thought, well, let's give Labour a go. They gave Labour a go, and it's an absolute catastrophe. I think, look, people are disillusioned and angry because the system doesn't work. If you've got an economic system that doesn't mean rising living standards, that doesn't mean public services get better, that your next generation will be worse off than you, that you have good, decent, affordable housing, then people get angry and they look for answers. And at the moment, the person monopolising
these things poll quite well. Public ownership of water, all the utilities like water, electricity, gas, public ownership of transportation. So it'll see what Elena says. Broadband communism, so basic internet access for all of us, no matter what way we use it. Just for cool down, listen to music, watch videos, blah blah blah. Use it to play games on a stream, or just play games in general. Renationalisation of Royal Mail, just kick that Czech person out the way. We want these things. The British public want all of that. We are not going to get it from Reform. Trust me on this. He's a political chameleon. You cannot trust the bastard. He keeps on changing and saying stuff that sounds good to people until you read their policies and what they've said in private, well, not private, but not on a large public scale, essentially. I do not trust. It is not Nigel Farage, it is Manfrog. I am nicking that off of Alistair Campbell, even though he's a war criminal. Manfrog. Only Manfrog. No Nigel Farage. And oi, Manfrog, visit Clacton. He does have an obligation to do surgeries there, by the way. Hope he's done at least a few. But I am doubtful. I suppose I could check. I do not trust them. I trust the Greens to a certain extent in England and Wales. I love my Scottish Greens. They are brilliant. And there's so much talent, so much young talent in Scottish Greens as well. They're going to do well, hopefully, next year. Without any luck.
Here's the alternative to the broken systems, Nigel Farage. We need other voices in the room who can say, actually, you should be angry at this, but don't blame migrants and refugees. Blame the bosses who aren't paying you properly. Blame the profiteers who run down our services.
Ronald, yeah.
You know, blame the bankers who plunge us into a disaster. Let's tax them properly, invest in public services, bring our utilities into public ownership, and stop arming child killers. I don't think actually it's that unreasonable. It's not extreme, is it?
Can I ask you about at the moment, Morgan McSweeney gets a lot of headlines, Prime Minister's close advisor, various sort of musings about him wanting to tackle reform issues, crime, small boats, not that they are reform issues, but certainly how he sort of sees it. This new party, do you think it could bring Labour further to the left, further to perhaps the sort of Labour Party that Keir Starmer ran?
Giving aid and diplomatic shelter to the Israeli government. So that's how I frame it. That's how I look at it from my perspective. And that's how a lot of politicians who are actually current MPs frame it as well. And some journalists. If you want more on this, check out Middle East Eye, Al Jazeera as well, if you want to. If you manage to disconnect, I have a little bit to watch the coverage of what's actually happening in Gaza and the West Bank. Middle East Eye is quite good, but still remember it's basically funded by the Qataris. Problematic. Correct, yes, that would be better. It'd be so easy for them to actually do this. France, now, kind of, maybe. I say, well done, Macron, which feels weird saying, actually. Yeah. So am I, Sozzled, so am I. Good night. Thank you, comrade, for the subs. Good sleep. Stay hydrated. Stay based. See you later. Sozzled, be lovely.
On when he ran for leader.
But I mean, it's about, most people don't think it's as left or right. Keir Starmer ran on a false prospectus, abolishing tuition fees, public ownership, taxing the rich, and it was a lie. Morgan McSweeney is the real prime minister, by the way. Ran that deceitful leadership campaign. But I supported We Deserve Better, which at the last election raised money for the Labour Party and the Green Party independent candidates. Sorry, left-wing Labour candidates. It backed the Green Party candidates. Let me do that again. The We Deserve Better thing, which I supported, raised money for left-wing candidates who are either Green Party candidates or independent candidates. And that's what needs to happen. There needs to be a coalition.
Right.
And I think what will happen now is to put pressure on Labour and offer an alternative. This new party needs to do a pact with the Green Party and independent candidates, so it's not splitting the votes. We don't want to go People's Front of Judea People's Front. And I think actually because otherwise Labour will be laughing. I mean, if you've got a Green Party candidate standing against this new party candidate and then Labour just wins, well, what's the point in that? So obviously what they need to do is get their act together, form a pact. We Deserve Better, I know, will be raising money to support different candidates on a non-sectarian basis. I'm a floating voter now. I quit the Labour Party and I'll vote for whatever candidate locally has the best chance of winning on that sort of programme. So I think that's what will happen, because otherwise Labour won't feel the heat or the pressure. The Reform could end up winning for the reasons you actually set out. So let's have a pact. Let's get the Greens and this new party to work together. And if they work together on the things they...
Rejoice, comrades. James Holmes is here. Hi, James. Welcome. A little bit later. Visit up to family in Perth. Back home now. We went out for dinner. Then came home. And we didn't actually get back in the house until the back of 9. Well, nearly 10, quarter to 10, 20 to 10, something like that, after our dinner. Then I went straight into Raptor. I'd missed Kev. I will get Kev streamed tomorrow, or later on today, essentially. How are you tonight? Thank you for visiting. This is Owen. Obviously, you know who Owen is.
Agree on public ownership, taxing the rich, investment. I mean, they agree on most things. Yeah. They're not having a genocide. I think that would put that. I think Labour would be worried then, and they should be worried if that happens.
On Jeremy Corbyn, I mean, clearly people love him, people hate him. There's not many people in.
My phone wobbled there for a second, sorry. Give me a second. Oh. Owen Jones.
In the middle, but I mean, are you quite surprised that he wants to go back into this? Because sort of from afar, he looked thoroughly miserable when he was Labour leader, and the idea of him sort of plunging himself back into frontline politics again, i.e. leading a political party, I was quite surprised. I don't know how you felt.
Well,
I thought don't get me wrong, he is kind of old, but he seems really enthusiastic, which is a good thing. Hopefully he will take a back step and he'll help Zara or any other younger candidates that actually join up, which will be good. He's going to be the insider to actually show them all how the House of Commons and the Lords work, which is a good thing. He'll be there as the experience, telling them how to navigate the political system, essentially. I think Zara's already got all that links anyway, so he's there to help. That's what I think. We will find out, obviously. Rejoice! Reza Lindsay is here. Hi, Reza. Bit late tonight, sorry. Family visit. Came back, went up to Perth to see my mum and my sister and my niece. Didn't get to see my two nephews. They were out enjoying themselves. It's school holidays essentially, so they were out with their mates and stuff. So yeah. So I never managed to see my nephews. Saw my niece, saw their older sister. They're doing quite well, considering their flat got burnt. So she's currently living in a hotel, paid for by the council up in Perth. Delightful. And they're trying to get a flat for her as quick as possible. She will. She is either way, she's giving me a get out. For all her friends, they, them, but they've given me a get out. I can still call her her. Or they. I make it easier on myself, I just call her sweetie. Because she is a sweetie. She's a knackered sweetie. Having all her kitchen equipment burnt to a crisp kind of upset her. I understand. I get that.
Well, it's given he's been portrayed as the devil incarnate and the coming of Satan by a austere, respectable media for so long, he's taken the punches pretty well. And I think, I mean, look, you know, he was in exile, political exile for decades, fighting for policies and issues which actually got vindicated. You know, he was there in the 80s opposing apartheid when the government were calling the ANC terrorists. You know, he opposed the Iraq War, tragically vindicated on that one. Austerity, lone voice on the Labour benches when it was all austerity light with dead balls, that got vindicated. I think, look, he made a lot of big calls that got ridiculed and then got vindicated. And I think, you know, actually, look, I know actually, given the amount he's got thrown at him, there are people who have bad words to say about him. But I think most people actually think deep down, a lot of people, he's a principled guy. He says what he means what he says. You might disagree with him on this or that, but it comes from the heart, his conviction. And he's not doing it to advance his career or his reputation. He's doing it because he cares about things. And I'd like more politicians like that. I might not agree or disagree. I might agree or disagree with them on this or that. But actually, I think having people who are rooted in their communities, he loves Islington North. He stood when he got kicked out and he won a massive, resounding victory there, which is very rare, by the way. Independent people who stand as an independent candidate and then win afterwards doesn't normally happen, even if they represent that constituency for a long time. So you've got to look at that. His local voters love him for a reason, and actually got vindicated on a lot of the big issues. Am I surprised he wants to go and be a punchbag for many of my colleagues in the British media? I wouldn't do it myself, but I think that shows he's pretty tough. Actually, to be honest, he's gone through a lot, and yeah, I wish him well.
Okay, thank you, Owen. Appreciate your time.
Now, I want to be clear, guys. I'm really excited about this. We can't go on. We can't go on like this. We just can't. Our economic system is broken beyond any repair. Millions of people are condemned to hardship and insecurity. Not just those who have been driven into poverty, but a lot of people who traditionally would have thought of themselves as being somewhere around the middle. And while there used to be a promise that each generation would be better off than their parents, that's long been smashed into the dust. And yet there's more wealth sloshing around at the top than ever. And that wealth is created not by hedge fund managers sitting on their arses, but because of the graft of millions of workers using their brains or their hands or both. It's my firm conviction that complicity in genocide has destroyed the legitimacy of our elites altogether. You just can't help facilitate genocide and expect to retain your power and your influence. A reckoning is coming. If we don't get this right, though, the justifiable disillusionment, anger, fury in society will not go away. It'll just go in the wrong directions, and it'll be the likes of Farage who'll benefit. I'll be using this platform to discuss the exciting new developments in the coming weeks and months, so stay tuned for that. Please press like and subscribe. I would love to hear your thoughts, your comments. Do leave those behind the line. Help us take on the pro-genocide corporate media at patreon.com/OwenZ84. You make all this possible. As you can see, we're a lot more high-tech and getting modernised and all the rest of it. That's thanks to you. We're expanding our reach across every different platform. Listen to the podcast, just like Owen Jones podcast. And I will speak to you in a bit.
Thank you, Owen. Much appreciated. And while that is done, give me a second, comrades. I will be back. There, go there. I will be back. But I will put on
Right, so picture this for a second. A man standing on the Egyptian shore, hurling bottles filled with grain into the Mediterranean Sea in the hope they might drift to Gaza. There's video of it going viral across social media platforms right now that has created an image that I think will probably endure far beyond the news cycle. It's both absurd and profoundly symbolic at the same time. capturing the tragic essence not only of Israel's war of starvation, its genocide of the people of Gaza, but of Egypt's moral collapse in the face of Gaza's humanitarian catastrophe. This man was armed with nothing but his compassion and his blind faith in ocean currents, and he's attempting to do what one of the most powerful states in the Arab world refuses to do: feed starving children trapped just beyond its border. The act is a gesture of futility, but also of defiance. It exposes the Egyptian government's indifference that when they have a border crossing into Gaza, Sisi is effectively the jailer of Rafah. His deliberate political choice to keep the Rafah crossing restricted, despite the suffering just a few kilometres away. This gesture, whilst unlikely to achieve what this guy and others like him would like it to, has exposed Egypt's pro-Israel leanings in the face of genocide, possibly more starkly than any media headline ever has. Right, so Egypt once called itself the beating heart of Arab nationalism, the elder brother of the Palestinian cause, the spearhead of Arab resistance to Zionism. That identity has been thoroughly abandoned under President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. Today, the Egyptian state acts as Israel's partner in this siege, doesn't it? Tightening the chokehold on Gaza's 2 million people by controlling the only non-Israeli land crossing. While Israel bombs food convoys and destroys farmland, Egypt keeps the Rafah gates closed, blocking humanitarian trucks, blocking protesters and movements. Where Israel violates a 46-year-old peace agreement with Egypt, Sisi's just allowed them to remain there, covering for his own inaction. It's not mere negligence, it's active complicity in a war of starvation, a war crime, a genocide. Egypt's not a neutral bystander here, but an enabler of Gaza's suffering. Any examination of Egypt's role must begin by acknowledging the scale and deliberate nature of the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, though. Israel has turned starvation into a weapon. The World Health Organization's Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus described the crisis as a man-made mass starvation, explicitly rejecting the idea that this was a natural disaster. How dare anybody describe it as that? He has stated that this is not humanitarian failure, this is a policy decision, deliberate, that deprives civilians of food and medicine. The WHO report from just yesterday has confirmed that 21 children under the age of 5 have already died of malnutrition, with thousands more facing severe acute malnutrition, a condition that is fatal without immediate intervention. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs corroborated this grim reality in its Humanitarian Situation Update number 300, revealing that more than 18,800 children have been treated for acute malnutrition this year, with over 2,500 suffering severe acute malnutrition, a stage often described by doctors as a death sentence in slow motion. The Norwegian Refugee Council added that its staff inside Gaza are now themselves starving due to the complete collapse of food supplies. There are no aid supplies left, the organisation has warned. Our staff are watching children die and there's nothing left to give them. Human Rights Watch, in its 2024 report, They Destroyed What Was Inside Us, documented how Israel has systematically targeted Gaza's food systems, from bakeries and grain storage facilities to water treatment plants and farms. The report concluded that these were not incidental strikes, but part of a broader policy of collective punishment. UN Palestine envoy Riyad Mansour was even more direct, stating to the UN that Israel was using hunger as a weapon, accusing global powers of complicity through their silence. This is deliberate starvation, not humanitarian failure, and therefore those who enable this must be seen as complicit. So in that context, Egypt's actions cannot be dismissed as neutral. And when it comes to complicity, they have bigger questions to answer than most, given they literally have a doorway into Gaza. As the controller of the Rafah crossing, Egypt possesses the unique ability to bypass Israel's siege and deliver large-scale humanitarian aid. Its decision to instead maintain severe restrictions makes it an indispensable partner in this starvation campaign. Egypt's decision to restrict aid to Gaza is not a product of logistical necessity, but a calculated political choice rooted in security narratives, financial dependencies, and diplomatic opportunism. Sisi's government justifies its actions by invoking security concerns, claiming that Hamas's presence poses a threat to Egypt's stability due to alleged links with Sinai-based insurgents. This narrative, however, is widely seen by analysts as exaggerated, designed more to align with Israeli security concerns than to address genuine threats. Economic and political calculations are far more decisive. Egypt receives $1.3 billion annually in US military aid, a lifeline that keeps its heavily militarized regime afloat. Washington has made it clear that this aid depends on maintaining the Camp David Accords,
Even though the
in
Americans
cooperation
have
with
broken
Israeli
those.
security policy. Well, that's a bit of a sick joke, isn't it? Given that Israel has controlled the Philadelphia Corridor buffer zone region that encompasses the Rafah crossing in direct violation of the Camp David Accords, of course. But we know whose side Trump and Biden before him are on, don't we? Fully opening Rafah to unrestricted humanitarian convoys would risk angering both Washington and Tel Aviv, potentially jeopardizing this vital funding. Furthermore, Egypt's economic entanglement with Israel has deepened in recent years. Sisi has positioned Egypt as a regional gas hub, importing Israeli natural gas from the Leviathan and Tamar fields, liquefying it and selling it to European markets desperate for alternatives to Russian energy. This arrangement has become worth billions, and it gives Israel significant leverage, ensuring that Cairo will not act in ways that threaten this little partnership of theirs. And finally, Rafah itself is a political bargaining chip. By keeping the crossing tightly controlled, Egypt ensures that it remains indispensable to Western and regional diplomacy. Cairo positions itself as the gatekeeper to Gaza, a role that grants it leverage in ceasefire negotiations and international mediation. A fully open Rafah would strip Sisi of this diplomatic relevance, reducing his regime to a mere bystander rather than a power broker. Therefore, Sisi is less Gaza's gatekeeper in effect and more of its jailer. These cold calculations represent a profound moral and historical betrayal. Egypt once styled itself as a champion of Palestine in the heart of Arab solidarity. Under Gamal Abdel Nasser, Egypt was at the forefront of the anti-Zionist struggle, allowing Palestinian Fedayeen to operate from Gaza and promoting pan-Arab unity around the Palestinian cause. Even Anwar Sadat, whose Camp David Accords marked a major retreat from pan-Arabism, justified his peace treaty as a pragmatic step to reclaim Egyptian territory, not as an active collaboration in Palestinian suffering. Sisi's Egypt just goes much further than that. Where Nasser's soldiers crossed the Suez Canal in 1973 to confront Israeli occupation, Sisi's forces now block the routes that once carried flour and medicine into Gaza. Egypt, which once prided itself as the protector of Arab dignity, now enforces the starvation of fellow Arabs at Israel's behest. The transformation from Nasser to Sisi is not just political, but symbolic, marking the end of Egypt's claim to moral leadership in the Arab world. And what makes this betrayal even starker is it's not shared by the Egyptian people. Ordinary Egyptians have not abandoned Gaza at all. Their government has, exemplified by these bottles of grain now bobbing in the Mediterranean. Public sympathy for Palestine remains deeply ingrained in Egyptian society, rooted in decades of shared history, cultural solidarity, and a sense of pan-Arab identity. Since October of 2023, protests have erupted across Cairo, Alexandria, and other cities despite strict anti-protest laws. Chants of Netanyahu's partner have been directed at Sisi, and protesters have risked arrest to demand that Rafah be opened to humanitarian convoys. Grassroots efforts to send aid have been repeatedly blocked. Trade unions, student groups, and medical organisations have attempted to organise convoys of food and medical supplies, only to be turned back by military checkpoints. Some activists have been arrested for attempting to bypass official restrictions. This deep divide between popular will and state policy underscores the extent to which Sisi's government operates against the conscience of its own people. The image of the man throwing bottles of grain into the sea symbolises this divide perfectly. It is a silent accusation against the Egyptian state. If one man with no resources can attempt to help Gaza, what excuse does a government with an entire army have for doing nothing? It also highlights a larger truth. In today's Arab world, it is ordinary people and not governments who are the true defenders of Palestine. Egypt's role in Gaza's famine cannot be dismissed as passive complicity. It is an active enabler of the starvation siege. Rafah, Gaza's only non-Israeli crossing, has been reduced to a chokehold under Israeli and Egyptian control. Refugees International describes Egypt as a critical enabler of famine conditions, while the International Crisis Group warns that Egypt risks complicity in the use of starvation as a method of warfare, a crime under international law. Under the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, knowingly contributing to collective punishment of civilians can constitute aiding and abetting war crimes. The legal argument for Egypt's complicity is compelling, and while Sisi is unlikely to face accountability in the short term, history must judge him harshly. Sisi's complicity in Gaza's suffering has already begun to erode his legitimacy, though, particularly at home. His regime has long relied on nationalist propaganda, portraying him as the protector of Egypt's sovereignty and Arab dignity. That narrative is now collapsing. Protests, though tightly suppressed, are a warning sign of growing discontent, especially as economic hardship deepens, Sisi's regime having riddled the country with debt. Regionally, Egypt has lost the moral authority it once held. Once seen as the undisputed leader of the Arab world, it is now seen as a client state serving Western and Israeli interests. Internationally, however, Sisi has faced no repercussions at all. Much of this might be news to some people who might recall the Egyptian plans to rebuild Gaza as a sign of Egypt's stance against Israel. But on the contrary, his cooperation has made him more indispensable to the United States and the European Union, who rely on him to keep Rafah sealed while maintaining the facade of humanitarian concern. Western powers continue to fund his regime.
Sisi gave up on that moral leadership fucking years ago, Demo. We all saw it coming. They need that funding from the States. Would it have been better if European countries had helped them out? Maybe. Different roads, obviously. Anything is possible at the end of the day. Could it have been better than this? Obviously, so much better. But even just isolate both of them, Egypt here, Gaza, the West Bank, and Israel right next door, if they'd found better ways of helping out their economy, quite possibly. But Sisi himself and his cabinet are still a factor. So maybe. But because they're so reliant on the States, a better world might have happened. Who knows? The minute their economy went down the fucking toilet, I think it was sealed. And that happened nearly 20 years ago now. It wasn't even under Sisi. He could have made things better. We'll never know, obviously. The Western hegemon literally dug their claws right into Egypt at this point now, so ugh. I say again, I say kind of thank you to Macron, but still don't like him. And don't get me wrong, I still have problems with Mélenchon to a certain extent. He talks the talk, let's put it that way. There is ways that the European countries can help out in this situation, but none of them are going to fucking do it. At least from what I can tell. But what do I know?
Generously, valuing stability and Israeli security over Palestinian lives. The real consequences may come later, though. Just as Sadat's peace treaty with Israel defined his legacy, Sisi will be remembered as the president who enforced a starvation siege on fellow Arabs. The bottles of grain floating aimlessly in the Mediterranean should haunt Sisi and his allies. They tell a story more powerful than any diplomatic statement or military justification. An ordinary man, with no power, no resources, trying to feed starving children while his government does nothing. Egypt, which once fought and bled for Palestine, now keeps the one door to Gaza locked while famine spreads behind it. History will not remember the security excuses or the diplomatic calculations. It will remember the children who starved and the gate that could have been opened. Egypt holds the key to Gaza's survival, but under Sisi, it's chosen to keep that key turned firmly in Israel's lock. One man threw grain to the sea. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, with all the resources of the Egyptian state at his disposal, has thrown Egypt's honour into it instead. For more on Sisi's complicity and his pro-Israel leanings, do check out further stories in this regard, and this video recommendation here is your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe if you haven't done so already, so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content, sort of spreading the word and helping to support the channel at the very same time, which is very much appreciated, holding power to account for ordinary working class people. I hope to catch you on the next video. Cheers, folks.
We don't know what is happening behind closed doors, Digester, unfortunately. Oh, pure speculation on my behalf. Obviously, I don't have access to this kind of information, but I suspect there's Western, obviously we've all got ambassadors in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, and in Cairo and Alexandria. That's the two main. Cairo's obviously the capital, we know this. But they've also got diplomatic missions in Alexandria for reasons. I think at one point our country might have actually been the power in Israel. Well, we were, and Egypt, and the Transjordan. A little bit of history might help. That stupid piece of legislation might help. Nope, I'm not watching Unpacked. Look, it looks like we're going to the Al Jazeera explanation. There we go.
It's been 100 years since the British government issued the Balfour Declaration, a document that would later become a cornerstone for the creation of the It's been 100 years since the British government issued the Balfour Declaration, a document that would later become a cornerstone for the creation of the State of Israel. But why is Britain celebrating its colonial legacy while glossing over the 100 years of conflict that followed? Let's go back to November 2nd, 1917, when British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour sent a letter to Lord Walter Rothschild, a leader in the British Zionist Federation. Balfour's letter expressed sympathy for Jewish Zionist aspirations at the heart of Zionism, a political ideology calling for Jews to return to Palestine. The Balfour Declaration said the UK would use their best endeavors to facilitate the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. So on that date, Zionism became an official objective of Britain's foreign policy. But the British had no legal authority to establish a home or a state for anyone in lands that they didn't own. A land where 92% of the local population were Muslims and Christians who were never consulted. Even though they didn't own the land, the British would soon control it. The lines on the map were in flux. That's because, well, World War I was going on and British Allied troops were advancing on Palestine. Just a few weeks after the Balfour Declaration was issued, British General Edmund Allenby conquered Jerusalem. The British Prime Minister at the time, David Lloyd George, called its capture a Christmas present for the British people. During the war, the UK made a number of promises that it wouldn't keep. One was to the Sharif of Mecca, Hussein bin Ali. He's the great-great-grandfather of Jordan's King Abdullah II. Britain promised their support for a single, independent, and unified Arab state. And in return, he agreed to be part of a revolt against the Ottoman Caliphate. A second commitment was made to France under a secret agreement between colonial powers to divide up the Middle East between them. Under the Sykes-Picot Agreement, Palestine would be an international zone. But the agreement wasn't honored later on. Britain wanted Palestine for itself. Then came the third commitment, to the British Zionist Federation. Now this is the one that the British actually honored. Its ambiguous language created problems, but it was a deliberate choice to use the word home rather than state in the declaration. Each of the 5 official drafts of the declaration were carefully reviewed by the Foreign Office. The Zionist project in Palestine was one way for the British government to resolve the problem of growing anti-Semitism in Europe. It would also protect Britain's interests throughout the region. After the war, the 5 colonial powers at the time, the UK, France, Italy, the US, and Japan, gave Britain a mandate for Palestine. The British government and the Zionist movement made sure it included the wording of the Balfour Declaration. It then became international law, and the Balfour Declaration became a legal obligation for Britain. The British Mandate of Palestine would last for 30 years, a land that was called Palestine by Europeans, Palestine by Arabs, and Eretz Israel, or Land of Israel, in Hebrew. There's a part of the Balfour Declaration that's often forgotten. It backs the idea of a Jewish home, provided that nothing would be done to harm the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine. In fact, in 1917, only 8% of the population of Palestine were Jewish. For much of the 1920s and 30s, the British facilitated Jewish immigration to Palestine, automatically granting each newly arrived Jewish immigrant with a Palestinian passport. And as the demographics changed, resentment grew between the Jewish and Arab communities of Palestine and towards their occupiers, the British. When Britain decided to leave in May of 1948, the Zionist paramilitary army was ready with a plan to colonize all of historic Palestine. We're talking about a large-scale ethnic cleansing. More than 700,000 local Palestinians were kicked out of their ancestral homes. Hundreds of Arab villages were razed to the ground, and 15,000 Palestinians were killed that year in several massacres. All this happened while tens of thousands of British soldiers were still in Palestine. Zionists declared their own state on May 14, 1948, and began the process of wiping the word Palestine off the map and deleting it from the historic record. And that continues to this day. 12 million descendants of those indigenous Palestinians refer to Israel's violent birth as Al-Nakba, or the catastrophe. And every year when Israelis celebrate their state, Palestinians mark the systematic destruction of their society. So, British celebrations of the Balfour Declaration are as problematic as the Declaration itself. The British government is proud of its colonial legacy, even though it opened Pandora's box, putting in motion events that would lead to future wars between its allies. And while celebrating this British declaration, Israel cannot escape its own colonial past, which continues to the present. Palestinians and Arabs call the Balfour Declaration one of the most shameful documents ever created by a colonial power. They're demanding that Britain apologize for it, not celebrate it.
We've been trying to get them to apologise for all the shit that they've done in their own homeland here in Britain. You're far down the list. Don't get me wrong, I stand with yous, all of yous, who got violently subjugated at the hands of my own fucking government. Fucking amazing, isn't it? Another reason I hate my fucking country, or my government, or my British state, whatever you want you fucking call it. Fucking sucks. Trust me, all colonialism is violence. It has been proven. Oh my god. You'll need to see this one. Will this one come up automatically? I think it might actually. Armbastani incoming. Operation. Oh, Lex is already there. There it's there. Fucking thought it.
They really do want to rewrite our national stories. We really are at risk of a kind of know-nothing, cancel culture iconoclasm. And so we Conservatives will defend our history and cultural inheritance. To edit it now is as dishonest as a celebrity trying furtively to change his entry in Wikipedia. And it's a betrayal of our children's education.
Britain's Conservatives are obsessed with the idea that we should never erase our history.
There is a cancer in our education establishment.
Attempting to change the history of this country, attempting to airbrush out the people they don't like from the history of this country.
The idea that modern-day Oxford University is in any way racist or oppressive is nonsense.
Why do you stay in this country? If you take such offence when you see Nelson's column, if you take such offence when you hear Winston Churchill's name, it feels...
Because she was born here. You were talking to a British citizen. She was born and brought up here, you fucking idiot. Seriously, don't know who they were talking to at times. They would get who they were talking to with me, obviously, because I'm this fucking pale with these blue eyes. Yeah, they are Reza, aren't they? Case in point. Look at his fucking face. Your decision, as always. They are incapable of listening to us, Reza, at this point. Seriously now. Even back then, we couldn't reach this fucking idiot. We really shouldn't entertain them, should we? Some of us do. People like Owen, people like Aaron. Aaron, my dude, please. They're not fucking worth it. And I say this knowing that he's actually interviewed Hitchens 3 times. Once on just standard Novara Media and twice on Downstream. He has talked to Hitchens. Why? You obviously couldn't speak to the proper Hitchens brother because he was already dead at this point. God, I miss Christopher Hitchens. But Peter Hitchens is a fucking wank. This is just a disingenuous cunt. Lawrence, fuck off. The wrong brother died. Christopher Hitchens was better. Peter Hitchens is a bit of a wanker. He's intelligent, don't get me wrong, but he's still a wanker. Well done, Dead Jester. Yes! That book is quite good, actually. It is in a box, not in this house. It should be on a bookcase right next to me, but it isn't. It will, hopefully, it will be getting either delivered tomorrow or Monday. We got decanted. They needed to fix the damp and the rot in the house, in the flat that I'm currently sitting in. That has been fixed. I am back in my flat. I'm back in my home. Don't have my TV or my DVDs or my books. I'm feeling kind of deprived. Rejoice, another atheist or agnostic. Do you have faith? Do you have spirituality? I have spirituality. I think there is something. But the Abrahamic God? Nah. I have faith in humanity to what extent I can. You might not have a Ludmilla, but you do have someone who knows her way around a katana and a sabre, and an épée to some extent. I have done clay pigeon shooting, but that's a shotgun. I am better with a sword, even though my joints seem to be failing me. They are failing me. But I still know how to use one. If the need arises, I can't just go out and get a simple sword, I guess. Sharpen it myself. Shall we learn about Operation Legacy? Oh no, I invite him. Got fluff on my screen. If he knows what's good for him, he'll stay away from Glasgow, obviously. I hope, fucking fingers crossed, that no one here in Glasgow votes for that fucking bastard. Well, we won't be voting for him because he's an MP. But whatever fucking idiots he puts up here to run in the Holyrood elections, I hope they all lose their fucking deposits. £750, I believe. Or they might have equalised. It might be a grand now to actually run. And same rules, 5%, you get your deposit back. Yeah. My sister's in-laws live in Ballycastle, which is in the north. Technically Northern Ireland, but there is only one Ireland. Remember that. I don't. He's a snake. I don't trust the bastard. Oh, wow. Huh. Friends and family, friends, Ballycastle and Belfast, and family members in Letterkenny. So that's technically the Republic. That's the Republic. Yeah, I've got friends there. Socialists, not Marxists like myself, but socialist people on the left. Letterkenny's on my bucket list, don't you worry. My stepdad's cousin runs a hotel in Letterkenny, so I've already got my accommodation set. And I get family rates. Next, that's a week after my birthday, actually. My God, how much would I need if I went for the weekend? Christ, I could probably save it up and get over to Letterkenny for St Paddy's. I'd need to book it now though, I think. My mum's going over to Dublin for St Patrick's next year for a week. She's already booked it. It's cost her fucking 450 quid for a weekend for her and my stepdad. That's literally, they arrive on the Friday night, so Friday night, Saturday night, and they come back on the Sunday. But they'll end up paying over the odds and staying the Sunday night and coming back on the Monday, no doubt. I know what my stepdad's like. Dublin's amazing. Take a lot of money. Plenty to do. Plenty to do and see. But take money. That is all I will say. When we went over, my mum sent us over there for my 35th, which was 11 years ago. She paid for, we stayed in the Basaris, we stayed in the hostel essentially right next to the bus station. That was cheap. It was, we arrived on the Friday, so we stayed the Friday, Saturday and Sunday night and came back over on the Monday. And that cost her for that entire weekend, just for her bed and board essentially, 86 quid. She gave us, she gave us £400 and we ran out. We had to call her on Saturday night saying, can you send us more money? I was like, you do that? Yep, here, have another 200. So we needed £600 for the weekend. And there's just the two of us, and I don't really eat that much. I love pizza, I love a curry. Problem is, we like to drink, and drink's rather expensive in Dublin. Go to St John Gogarty's, and there's lots of good pubs around the bus station. that are a little bit cheaper. Don't get me wrong, they're still kind of expensive, especially for Glaswegians. I'm not used to paying over £5 for a pint. Well, back then it was like 5 or 6, 7 or 8 euros, which was roughly £6 a pint. We weren't married at that point. Super Hubby was, yeah, he was not happy. So Christ knows what it costs now to have a pint in Dublin. Don't go to Temple Bar. Far too expensive. Don't get me wrong, it's probably good crack when you go over for St Patrick's, but stupidly expensive, obviously.
Sort of like with just one Sikh soldier there, you start going, oh, did the Sikh soldiers serve with the English soldiers? I'm not a historian, so I don't know.
This whining isn't new, but after a statue-toppling spree last year, starting with Edward Colston's statue in Bristol, the whinging has reached a fever pitch.
This kind of behaviour is a step on the road that leads to the, to mob rule, thumb rules, to the guillotine.
This is about our cultural heritage being under threat.
These are our great British values, so we're going to strip away our great British values.
These people, be clear, want to destroy our country.
In Britain, this has caused outrage on the right. Sure, these were awful people, they insinuate, though they never actually say that, but they were products of a different
They were still
time.
monsters when they were alive.
We shouldn't be
trust
erasing
me.
the past and bringing down statues and forgetting our history. Well, that just isn't British. But what if forgetting history was a central part of British identity? What if erasing the historical record wasn't just encouraged, but a matter of national policy and the basis of a decades-long clandestine operation to whitewash colonial misdeeds? Well, it turns out that it was, and its name, Operation Legacy. In the aftermath of the Second World War, it was quickly apparent that Britain's empire was falling apart. This came as something of a shock. After all, as recently as 1939, it had arguably been the most powerful empire in history, exercising control over.
I can click the link and go to it through the chat. Can you post that into the Discord? If it fits into far right wankery, what's UNT? Suppose I could go into far right wankery. That was already a stupid fucking decision for Starmer to make anyway. So, Christ, it's still there. That's better. If you can post that into the Discord, I'll get it through there and bring it up. Thank you, Reza. Yeah, it's but backwards, to say the least. Look at the places in red. Our colonial holdings, delightful. Like I say, I hate my government. Historically, they've been dog shite for the last 700 fucking years. What can I say? I was born into this, unfortunately.
Over a quarter of the world's population. Running the country in 1940, Churchill still talked of an empire lasting 1,000 years.
That if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour.
I agree with that bit.
And yet, by 1947, the previously unthinkable happened as India gained independence. A year later, British troops pulled out of Palestine, and the manner of both withdrawals created scars which remain with us today, the standoff between India and Pakistan being one, and the Israel-Palestine conflict being another. A hallmark of such retreat was the destruction of official records. During the partition of India in 1947, one administrator observed how the press greatly enjoyed themselves with the pool of smoke which hung over Delhi during the mass destruction of documents by the British. And after the withdrawal from Palestine was announced, a correspondent in Jerusalem wrote how the burning of files is progressing satisfactorily. The fact such seemingly un-British behaviour was recorded by the press was a cause for embarrassment. So By the early 1950s, as it became obvious that the whole empire would eventually go, these efforts became a coordinated secret program to eliminate all evidence of British wrongdoing. This was the genesis of Operation Legacy, so called to protect the legacy of Britain after the loss of its empire. Its aim being to maintain the charade that Britain was somehow different and more progressive than other colonial powers, a myth fundamental to our national identity even today.
The British put in a system that actually brought about education, that actually brought about partial emancipation of women, that actually brought about democracy.
Fuck off. I am here to correct you. Colonialism is never good for either people doing it for the greater good for the empire or for the people of the country, myself included, and my mother, who was alive during Operation Legacy. He's something else, isn't he? Fuck. With a national platform, no less. Delightful. Seriously, these people. Oy. Our media, everyone. Rejoice, I guess. Thank you very much, Reza. Much appreciated.
Democracy. It's time to stop seeing empire as a dirty word.
One example of how pervasive that myth is can be found in the Home Office Guide for the UK citizenship test. It tells us there was, for the most part, an orderly transition from empire to Commonwealth, with countries being granted their independence. And such a convenient, comforting myth is based precisely on what the right claim they dislike: the erasure of history.
The woke religion.
Rewriting history.
Judge history in whichever way it chooses to.
Changing school curriculums.
Wipe out any vestiges that there were bad people.
It's the erasing of history.
If you start to try and delete individual little parts of history, you finish up with literally nothing left.
How extensive was Operation Legacy, and what kind of documents did it destroy? Well, we have something of an answer as a result of an instruction from Ian MacLeod, then Colonial Secretary, in 1961. He wrote that post-independence nations should not be handed material that might embarrass Her Majesty's government.
Case in point, she praised this person. That's all you need to know about him. If she liked him, couldn't have been all good, really. Oh, God. And she was alive doing all of this, by the way. They should, yes. I would err on the side of mostly bad, but some good. Take the bad with the good. But the fact that Operation Legacy, it fucking hit on my fucking degree, by the way. Oh, so, for all of you who do not know, I have a degree in virology and parasitology, and my dissertation that I presented was about how viral outbreaks were more common under colonial holdings, really. So like Transjordan, Palestine, parts of Africa, Canada and the States, when we still had the States and stuff like that. I wanted to go further back, but the citations I would need, they did exist, but getting access to them is difficult, and you have to pay to get access to them to get the actual information I needed for my dissertation. So I didn't, so I cut it off. So I started in the mid to late 1700s and brought it up to about the 1950s, essentially, when we started losing all our colonial holdings. But the Commonwealth still exists, and I couldn't get information I wanted because they fucking burnt it all. It all got destroyed. Most of it got destroyed. What I was looking for, the information for my dissertation, doesn't exist because Operation Legacy happened. Thanks. So I could postulate. because I couldn't actually say definitively what had happened in respect to my discipline. Outbreaks might have happened. I couldn't find all the information I needed, obviously. Delightful. Operation Legacy fucking sucks. Stop taking away my information. Meh. And please, if you are an anti-vaxxer, don't tell me. I'll just start getting preachy at you. I would hope you're not. So, Operation Legacy fucking sucks. Just for the fact that we lost tons of fucking information. Yeah. Information that would help everyone. Information to show what our government have done in the past. Doesn't fucking exist. Virologist, scientist and biological health. Kind of epidemiology, so that's the spread and the management of diseases. Mostly viruses and some bacteria, major ones. But I was viruses essentially, and parasites like malaria, typhoid, blah 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 blah. Things of that nature. So I looked for viral outbreaks which spread either through water or through air. Mostly air actually, or hemorrhagic ones that infect you either through contaminated water supplies, contaminated food of that nature. If you're going to visit those areas, make sure you go to your GP. You might need to pay for it. Last time I checked, it's like £35, and you get the whole suite of ones that are more common depending on what country you go to. Antibiotics, you take them after the fact. Antivirals or vaccinations you can get before you get infected, so you don't get, you still get infected, but you might not be harmed. There is still a small chance you'll spread it, but it's vanishingly small. Make sure you get vaccines, please. I beg of you. Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore's getting on top of it, so they're not too bad now. Parts of Africa and most of the Middle East or West Asia, depends on what you want to call it. So like, basically the Middle East. Some viruses are making an appearance in quite a lot of Western European nations like France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal, blah blah blah. But you're mostly covered. If you need to get the vaccines while you're over there, you'll get them anyway, and you get charged like 50 euros or something, I think. Good. The only thing you need to worry about is it's stoning it down or midges, and they can't spread malaria. They're a nuisance. I get eaten alive by the bastards. They usually congregate around water sources, so like most of the locks, especially on the west coast. Kind of funny. And they kind of hover around the Tay. Yeah, just annoying. You're only getting bitten by the females, by the way. They need the energy so they can actually birth the next generation. And there's usually thousands of the bastards. Good for you. My God, I'm a bus journey away from that. I do like Glasgow Green. My sister and my nephew were down for Transmit. My sister got eaten alive like I do. My nephew didn't. He's one of the lucky ones. He kind of landed on him, but he never got bit. Damn me wee bastard. I love Glasgow Green as well. technically, I can get a bus straight to it. It might be the 90, which is the fucking shittest bus service known to man, in my opinion.
Embarrass members of the police, military forces, public servants, or others, such as police informers, that might betray intelligence sources or be used unethically by ministers in the successive government. Basically, anything viewed as negative was fair game for destruction. This was necessary to eliminate evidence that would undermine the myth that the British establishment was busy constructing. This had explicitly racist, anti-democratic, and anti-worker aspects, with long-held documents on political parties and trade unions first among those set for destruction. Alongside them were any papers which might be interpreted as showing religious intolerance on the part of Her Majesty's government, and all papers which might be interpreted as showing racial discrimination against Africans. We might think the British Empire was less racist and bigoted than others, and it somehow prepared the countries it ruled over for democracy. But that's partly because the records demonstrating otherwise were systematically destroyed. Here's another myth. Compared to the US before the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Britain likes to think of itself as superior on issues of race. That makes some sense, given certain states in the US prohibited the cohabitation and marriage of whites and non-whites until just 60 years ago. And yet, between 1902 and 1961, the White Highlands of Kenya were exclusively reserved for white Europeans, hence the name. This was a form of apartheid under the British Empire, with white settlers who comprised a tiny part of the population owning most arable land. It was a similar situation in Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone, and elsewhere, where Britain did pretty much the same thing as the United States. It's just its racist apparatus was primarily overseas and therefore out of sight.
No, it wasn't.
The word legacy in Operation Legacy also had a secondary meaning, with legacy files to be handed over to newly independent countries. But before such handovers took place, those files that weren't destroyed were extensively weeded. In Zambia, colonial officials were issued orders to destroy all papers which are likely to be interpreted either reasonably or by malice as indicating racial prejudice or religious bias on the part of Her Majesty's government. In Kenya, instructions were given which meant only British subjects of European descent could participate in weeding. Ensuring that required an elaborate code. Files marked DG, for instance, were meant to be for the viewing of the Deputy Governor. In reality, however, DG indicated documents that could only be viewed by British officers of European descent. Documents marked Watch, stamped with a red W, were to be removed from the country in question or just destroyed. The steps were taken to ensure that post-colonial governments would never learn such vitally important files existed, with those officials involved even told to keep their W stamps locked away. So why did this all happen? Well, the answer is quite simple. Because the British Empire committed innumerable atrocities. In Kenya, for example, the weeding of official documents was particularly necessary after the suppression of the Mau Mau uprising. That struggle, which took place between 1952 and 1960, saw 1.5 million of the Kikuyu people and indigenous people of Kenya put in detention camps, with around 150,000 losing their lives during the uprising. During this period, white settlers openly called for the extermination of the Kikuyu, while mass torture was used. It should come as no surprise then that on visiting Kenya in 1955, Labour MP Barbara Castle compared the regime's attitude to Nazism. Some documents from the era survived, however, stashed away at the secretive Hanslope Park. But these were only revealed in 2011 after a lawsuit brought against the British government by Kenyan torture survivors. Their case was partly based on oral testimony gathered by Harvard academic Caroline Elkins, and what emerged from the migrated archives confirmed their accounts of systematic abuse and torture. Yet these files were a mere fragment of what should have been found. Expecting around 240,000 files, Elkins only uncovered several hundred. Yet even this was enough, and after multiple defeats in court, the British government finally moved to settle the case.
I would say it is not quite enough because of our punishment which we had, because for some years which we have been punished, it did not pay off.
It's important to say that such an admission of the truth happened against all of the odds. What other stories like it will never be uncovered. And what's more, given the nature of Operation Legacy, the apology from the British government is essentially meaningless. Britain's problem is that it was caught. Similarly, in Aden, in 1967, there was an orgy of burning when the British departed. As with Kenya, this made sense given the widespread use of torture by the British, something documented by Amnesty International in 1966. A number of people died in captivity, though we don't know how many, because the records have mostly been destroyed or remain inaccessible. Meanwhile, in Malaysia, while fighting an insurgency after World War II, the British used concentration camps and Agent Orange, inspiring the US to adopt similar tactics against the Vietnamese. Here too, documentary evidence was destroyed, and in 1957, one official reported how 5 lorry loads of documents were incinerated at a naval base in Singapore. What was so appalling that those documents had to be destroyed and the past erased? After all, as we hear so frequently, doesn't Britain care about the truth? Doesn't it care about history? Operation Legacy continued all the way into the 1970s, and remarkably, almost none of the countries involved, besides Kenya and Malta, appear to have known anything about it. Despite claims to the contrary, Britain is among the most secretive states in the world. MI6, for example, has never made a single page of a single document public since its creation in 1909. Yet, alongside that secrecy was industrial-scale destruction of evidence documenting British crimes against humanity. The idea that Britain's empire was more progressive than those of other European powers is a myth, but the fact it's widely believed required erasing history as a matter of state policy. All of which means those who are pulling down statues aren't rewriting history, but starting an overdue conversation about a colonial legacy which the powerful have done everything to obscure, dismiss and deny for more than half a century. The people that really care about historical truth? Well, they're the ones who dumped it at Colston in Bristol's docks. We want to create more videos like this. What kind of topics would you like to see covered specifically? Put that in the comments below.
Nope, I'm not doing it again. I can't be arsed looking over that Jubilee one again, even though I've done it on stream already. I can't be. No. People openly saying they're fucking fascists. No, fuck off. I will deal with yous in other means. I am here to educate, not to...
Wherever the British Empire went, they found in
I believe in humanity, yes. Humanist? I have met humanists. Some of them are friends. They are lovely people. My favourite scientist was a humanist, Dr. Adam Rutherford. He is a geneticist. He is amazing. Fuck it, why am I doing this to myself? Sorry. Another streamer called Raptor Blue. Hang on, is that charged? Ha! Charged. That's the exotic phone. What was that? How old is this one? Oh, fuck it. Let's see. Videos. Oh, there's a... Utter wank incoming. Okay. You have a get out clause, everyone. The one you're seeing here, oh, that is actual Jake. He is a streamer. I know actual Jake. Well, parasocially, I visit his stream. Jake is quite good. I have a lot of time for Jake. But this wank, this channel, I have to respond to it.
Before I even get into any of this, we're going to watch a series of clips for no reason other than I find it funny. Pay attention to the lunatic in the upper right hand corner dressed as a bloody corn cob.
Mentioned a few times as black people killed at a what you consider a proportional rate, which is interesting. The data doesn't bear that out whatsoever. 13% of the population experiencing half the police shooting deaths is not really the case here. Or at least
I know. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, we missed the T jump.
You missed it. Wait, I'll go back.
The T jump's expression. There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
Like,
yeah. So already, literally, like the first thing out of Jake's mouth, he doesn't understand the point that T jump made. The literal first point that Jake has made, he already doesn't even understand T jump's argument.
Yes.
It's a great start to the debate, that isn't it? Opening statement, and already you don't know what the opposing argument is. Do you see how stupid this man is? 13% of the population experiencing half the shooting deaths. That doesn't tell us much of anything, veggie boy. A sane person would ask, and Jake is clearly not one, his attire alone shows us this. What does the average encounter of that demographic with the police look like? Because if it's more hostile, well, that might account for the so-called disproportion. Idiot.
Or at least half the number that white people do. So that's obviously disproportionate. And then if you say 37% of violent crimes are committed by black people, and that's proportional to the number of shootings or whatever, that's very obviously, and studies do show that is due to the fact that they over-police those areas due to systemic racist issues that spawn back from, the very foundation of policing, which was to catch slaves.
Systemic racist issues that goes back to the foundation of policing, which was to catch slaves. In the spirit of democracy is cringe, gay, and frankly retarded at this point, I am quite fed up of indulging every mid-witted plank of a creature simply because they can breathe. Your opinion does not hold value merely because...
Stop being disingenuous. The aristocratic spoon. Thank you. Well, he's changed it. He was called the aristocratic spoon, by the way, not the aristocratic utensil. That's more connotation that I do not wish to think about. They are more heavily policed. That is what Jake is telling you. Jake is white, as you can tell. You can see him. It depends on the demographic and the area. Like I said in Raptor Stream earlier on, this is a mostly all-white area in the north of Glasgow, and we get over-policed because we're seen as poor, downtrodden, and easily manipulated. come and debate me. Would I be able to reach this person? Obviously, I can leave a comment under this video, but would he reach out and say, yes, I will debate you, but I am woman and Scottish. He might not want to debate me, and I'll just yell the word coward right in his face. If you're open to debate, I am here. Do I need to debate him? Probably not. Would it be good viewing? Possibly. Who knows? Depends what sort of mood he's in, or what sort of mood I'm in. Depends how fucking angry I am.
Because you aren't dead. There are some things, if you utter them, you should be forced to shut up because you're unbelievably insane and stupid. There will be no talks, no discussions, no pontification. No, you're just an idiot and that's the end of it. This is one of those moments. Over-policing, you piss off. Everyone knows these people are the eternal losers who are just looking for a reason to bitch. If there was no state intervention, they will say the system doesn't care about them. When they misbehave and the state enforces a standard, oh, suddenly the state is negligent. Oh, there's a lot of violent conduct from the cops. Maybe look at what they're dealing with instead of putting the onus on the cops.
Why that's it's not proportional to the amount
They're
of violent crime.
over-policed,
It's
you fucking
proportional to
dickhead.
the amount of violent crime that police interact with.
No, I'm just going off of the violence.
So wait, so Jake just said it's not proportional to the amount of violent crime. It's proportional to the amount of violent crime police interact with.
Right, so he's saying there's violent crime that police are not interacting with?
Yes!
So it's like, well, wait a minute. First of all, this is the biggest statement in the world. Really?
Yes!
The police can't possibly shoot someone in situations where they don't exist?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously.
They shoot people they shouldn't be shooting at. Over-policing is a problem. There's gradations. If they see it's not worth it. Unfortunately, it is starting to be on the rise again. Unfortunately for us, I don't like it. Before I moved into this area, knife crime was rife, essentially. It has calmed down a bit. Don't get me wrong, people still exist and they do fucking insane shit because they're either drunk or pissed off. Or high off their gourd, essentially, on a variety of narcotics, be they illegal or legal. People seem to forget that legally prescribed drugs that you get from your GP still change the way people's minds work. They over-police for certain reasons, but then once it calms down and they think they've dealt with all the individuals, no, you haven't. The societal problems still exist. They should be teaching that to the police. Technically, we're policed by consent. Our system is different over here in the UK than it is in the States, and to a certain extent Central America and parts of Canada and parts of Europe. It is different here. That might help for people who get attacked in city centres or when they're out and about. Usually late at night, but sometimes during the day. It's illegal because it affects certain people differently. Actual pepper spray, you know, like just the solution of like water and pepper, like a fuck ton of peppercorns, finely ground and mixed into a water bottle, a spray water bottle. Don't get me wrong, if you get that in your fucking eyes, it's going to fucking hurt you and you'll no see for fucking days. Well, you won't be able to see clearly for fucking days. But mace, the one that's been banned, actually makes people blind. And it messes with the skin as well, and you break out and stuff. And it can choke you, depending on how much you get sprayed in your face. It affects all over your skin, obviously all over your body, but because mostly get sprayed in this general area. It does actually disrupt how the skin works. I wouldn't want mace to be made legal because it does actually interfere with the way we work, because it's a chemical. The structure of mace itself is purely man-made. I'm glad that it's rightfully banned, but actual just pepper spray, like grinded peppercorns, it can disrupt someone's eyes and their breathing and their mouth, and you disorientate them with it, and you can either kind of slap at them or kick them or something, or spray it and just fuck off, just run away, go and hide somewhere and either find a taxi or go on a bus or a train or whatever. Mace is the problematic one. Just standard pepper spray, which is still banned, should be made legal. Don't get me wrong, people will still, if they get sprayed with it, still break out, and it hurts the eyes and the nose and the mouth and your throat and stuff. It dries you out, it's an astringent. Don't get me wrong, getting it sprayed in my eyes probably would hurt, but if it got sprayed in my nose or my mouth, I'd be fine with it because I love pepper. I wouldn't be. I know how to disarm people. I've already done it a good few times in my life. There'll be nutters about, don't get me wrong, but I've done kendo and fencing and stuff, and kind of jiu-jitsu. I can disarm someone or take the knife off of them, and I wouldn't use the knife against them because then that's assault. I would just disarm them and chuck the knife or throw it into the country, in the grate essentially, or in a bin. Then fuck off. Or disarm them and hopefully incapacitate them in some fashion. Getting the oxters usually works, or discombobulate, slapping them around the ears. Or, I'm sorry, kick them in the family jewels, then wait for the post to arrive. I haven't needed to do that for the last 16 years now, thankfully. I may be frail and falling to pieces, but I can still defend myself. Hell mind you if you try to attack me. You will get lifted, let me say that. Please don't do it as much as you can. Obviously, it depends on what part of the city you're living in, obviously. I would hope you wouldn't need to do that. Self-defense is allowed, obviously. There's ones you can actually box up and put them in your pocket. They're usually about 20 quid. You can get them online. I will not tell you, you'll have to find them for yourself, because if I actually give you the link for this, I might be complicit. And I'm not going to risk it. There is local suppliers where you can get those kind of things. That's all I'll say. But other than that, please don't. And please don't say I'm promoting violence. I'm promoting self-defense. Don't get me wrong, if I managed to get myself a katana again, I'd probably get lifted. Remember, 5-year minimum sentence if you carry a bladed article. That is the legal definition of it, so please don't carry a knife. I wouldn't want to get anyone locked up unnecessarily. Self-defense is different. I will not say who. Family members of Procurator Fiscal, by the way. Don't worry, I won't shop you. I'll just encourage you not to do it. Don't get locked up unnecessarily. It's not worth it. Like I said, there's a lot of my family members and my friends here in Glasgow who would want to educate people in that fashion, and I've said to them, don't do it, it's not worth it, live better. Just ignore the fucking bastard. If it's done in self-defence, but at the end of the day, that's up to the Procurator Fiscal and the judge. The police essentially gather the evidence and it gets presented. If it's unnecessary, you will get... I can explain it to you if you like. Just it's not worth it. Don't get me wrong, there's people who I would want to do that to, but none of them live here in Scotland. And none of them live in Glasgow, oddly enough. Mind you in saying that, a couple of them do live up in Aberdeen. I will not say who.
I don't have anything to add to this. I just wanted to play it because it's funny.
Yes, because that's the amount of violent crime that people interact with, right? If you not interact.
Jim's expressions alone makes this debate far funnier than Jake's utterly asinine commentary.
With violent crime because you're not policing white areas as much as you police black areas, obviously you're going to find more crime in black areas. Do you agree?
Are you saying there's like some kind of epidemic of violent crime that's not solved in white neighborhoods or something?
I love that. I totally love that.
Yes. Especially over there in America and parts of Africa. In the Middle East, it's more policed in certain types of demographics. These things do happen, they've been documented. What are you not understanding here? And by the way, my lovely Americans, if any of you can hear me with this one, you don't have a police force, you have a paramilitary force who is enforcing the will of the state against you. Technically, we're meant to be policed by consent. If we consent to be policed, we'll be fine and happy and safe and carry on doing our usual daily business, essentially. But that is changing, unfortunately. Thank you, Manfrog, you absolute fucking lunatic. So, policed by consent here in Europe, mostly. In the States, paramilitary force used to quell and subdue vast majorities, be them white, black, indigenous, Hispanic, whatever, Chinese, Japanese. Paramilitary force, they use the power on the more marginalised and poorer demographics. Mostly to black, African American and people of African and Caribbean descent and Hispanic descent. Ooh, things are happening, things are happening.
I have just found out that my bid has been extended until 2029.
He is here. Rejoice, the resident philosopher. Hi, Scribby. Mwah. Rejoice, comrades. Scribby is here. Hi. Any philosophical questions? Scribby might answer them. Or you can put them in the philosophy channel on my Discord. My Discord be based. Oh, fuck it, I forgot to do it. If you haven't already, I can post it again. Give me a second. Basically like that. Don't get me wrong, they still exist. Police force are there. Oh, extra 5,000 for that bastard turning up here in Scotland. Delightful. It's a lot of fucking police, I'll say that. The Discord. It is called the Numpty Woman Discord. And the voice channel is called the Numptyverse. Obviously because you're speaking to a numpty. Jokingly, I do kind of class myself as mostly intelligent, I guess. Although intelligence is subjective.
Are you saying that we have a lot of violent crime in white neighborhoods that's just not being reported? Like, what is it, like murder and stuff?
Yeah, wouldn't that? How would that happen?
I know. That's my question.
There's an epidemic of white murder in white neighborhoods and white areas, and the police just never show up, and they never interact, and never catch the killers. Oh my God!
They never report it or anything.
Never reported.
They're not reported.
What?
Get reported.
I know this is turning into a bit of a clip compilation, but damn it, this is funny as hell.
That tends to be correct. Also, population density tends to be a factor.
Why do you think
so
that
when you have a systemic issue in regards to how we...
So, but wait a minute. Jake just destroyed his
No,
own
he
argument.
didn't. He was adding
just
to it, you
said
fucking idiots.
that a combination of being poor and population density are two very big factors in crime. And if the black population is disproportionately affected by those two things, then they're going to disproportionately probably be involved in more crime.
Right.
Which is T-Jump's fucking argument!
That is one of my favorite bits in this whole debate, and Sitch is gonna tell us why.
What? Was there a problem with that?
Yes, there's a problem with that, because it seems to me that you don't understand that that is like literally the catalyst for causing the crime in the first place.
Why do you think it's like that then?
What? So if they don't...
It's just so hilarious. Like, literally, this is I've never seen anything like this. Jake says something. T-Jump says, I agree. Then Jake stops and says, oh, fuck.
You're supposed to disagree with me.
This is a Black Lives Matter debate. And he said all lives matter. That means he's a secret racist Nazi. I must destroy him. I can't let him agree with me on anything. How do I attack him?
He wasn't doing that.
Stop agreeing with me, you motherfucker.
This is a great debate, isn't it?
Who support the policies isn't the problem. The problem is the policies, not the police.
It literally is the problem, and they're telling you it's the problem, and it bears out.
And once again, we're back to the problem is the cops and not the people committing the bloody crimes.
Okay, do you need me to do that?
I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure what
that is
you're
per
saying.
capita. That is per capita. So 370 out of 290 million.
Yeah. So again, I'm not sure what you're saying.
So that's how many.
The amount of.
What I'm saying is, if you commit a crime and you are a white person, you are less likely to die in your interaction with police, statistically speaking, based on the population versus the amount of crime that you create and the number of people that just get shot. Like you are less likely if you are white based on just demographics, to be killed.
That's an obvious lie. You're not factoring in how often the interactions go sideways in your analysis.
It happens to African Americans more than it does to white Americans or Anglo-Saxon, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants is what he is saying, or white Anglo-Saxon Catholics. They're more over-policed, so they see more of the crime because they're not policing the white neighbourhoods more. Because why do we need to police ourselves? Because most cops are white. Anglo-Saxon Protestant or white European descendants, essentially. They do not police themselves, they police the minorities more, African American, Hispanic and Asian communities more than they do the whites. What you're not understanding here. And it happens here in Britain as well, by the way. The only reason it's different up here in Scotland, we are mostly white here. Scotland as a whole is 93% white. So white Protestant and white Catholic. Holy fuck, that's a big message. Oh, I'll read. You okay for reading this, right? The problem is that the police will all allow you to incriminate yourself. Correct. Also, the difference between the US and here is that during the interview process, the police can invent scenarios. Also correct. Which would be regarded as entrapment in the UK. Also correct. They can't do that, and if they submit evidence that actually proves this, that evidence gets booted here in Scotland, and I would hope mostly in England and Wales. Obviously, I don't know. I know mostly, but not intimately. I know intimately here. The process examined in the book, criminal testimony, just Jennifer Lackey. Thank you very much, Scribby. Hi, Scribby. How you doing? Great to see you. The aristocratic, he's changed his name, by the way. It used to be Aristocratic Spoon. Actual Jake is not an idiot. He can't give you all the references that you like. Obviously, you're an idiot, and you're being very disingenuous like the other three fucking idiots. Please, any of yous, feel free to come and talk to me. What are the one who is actually doing this, the spoon himself, is South African, we believe. I think. He does sound kind of South African, actually. He is in the bottom right-hand corner, by the way, I believe. I'm sure that's him.
You're simply looking at the police interactions and going, black people die more and therefore systemic racism or some bollocks.
That's true, you fucking
I can't believe
wank.
someone this thick has actually listened to it. It's insane.
So again, which one of my facts was wrong? Which one of my facts was wrong? 37% of violent crime done by African Americans, 37% of victims of police shootings African American. Which part of those facts is wrong?
You're missing context.
The entire thing, they're not facts.
You know, I may have my fair share of disagreements with Adam and such, but damn it, that video was quality. Jake literally cannot understand something as basic as, if an area has a higher amount of crime, police presence will be greater. Just...
More crime gets noticed because they're more heavily policed. What are you not understanding about that concept? It has been proven. Read The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. It explains all of it. It is on my wish list. I will be ordering it at the end of August so I can actually read it. And it explains it all. I have noticed clips of it. I've watched videos about that book, and I've heard other streamers talk about the book. I need the book for myself so I can read it and understand better what she's talking about. Thank you. And just from what I've watched on YouTube from other creators and other streamers, I know more than you, aristocratic utensil. They are more heavily policed because a lot of the police, most of the police, I would say, are racist bastards because of the way it works over in the States and parts of Canada and parts of Mexico and here in parts of the UK and Europe. Are you noticing a theme here? What are these people not getting here? Should I debate him? I really shouldn't know.
That concept is frame-breaking to this wanker. It actually baffles me and frankly depresses me that people can be this stupid. It's mind-blowing. I actually cannot wrap my head around someone not understanding this. There's no need to contextualize anything. I can pitch to you a reason for the behavior, but I guarantee you wouldn't like it.
I just think you gotta be an objective human being. I don't think it has nothing to do with being white or black.
Really?
Hey, come on, man.
Oh, that clip will never not be
never
funny.
funny.
So let me deviate from this ever so slightly. On a Sunday morning a while back, because monsoon levels of rain woke me up, I was watching the tail end of a debate on Sarah's channel, The Raging Tomato, about immigration and deportation. And I messaged her and I said, I want to hop on board and school racism boy over here. And by school, I mean ask a question I know they can't answer and watch the response, if for no other reason other than I will find it amusing. By the time I got on, I swear I was basically the only one vaguely right-leaning on a panel of about 6 or 7 who wouldn't know their ass from their elbow. The main bloke who was debating, I wasn't exactly sure of his political leaning. He sounded like the most psychopathic kind of libertarian socialist. And when it came to wealth redistribution, I said, I don't want politicians being the intermediary. He replied, politicians can't just take money and put it in their pockets. You know when you see someone say something so profoundly thick you just know anything beyond...
Come on.
You know when you see someone say something so profoundly thick you just know anything beyond what you just said will go absolutely nowhere? That was this conversation.
Thank you, Scrippy. Correct. From my viewing of it, really. What are you thinking of this individual, this thing? Please, I just need to educate these people, I really do. Would they debate me in good faith? I'm doubtful.
My word, imagine asking them where taxes come from. But anyway, so I picture them the question that I've asked on here before. If you have a given territory, occupied and defended by some homogenous group, why should they give access to their people, their land, their resources and capital to those who don't share their...
No, it isn't. Thank you very much. Some of us do actually read history and have lots of information about it. Lots of historical information that we can read and digest and take into ourselves and understand. Then we've got our own lived experience as well. Be you as nearly as transparent as me, or very African and very dark, very different lived experiences for myself, and we can see matching pathways we have chosen to live our lives. I talk to people. Funny that, and I learn shit. Also funny, yay! Learning shit. Really good. Expands your horizons, gives you a better outlook for the light in the world. Not that you'd fucking care to experience it, really, from what I'm hearing. In some odd, comforting way, this is better than Mehdi Hassan versus basically 20 fucking fascists. Oh, Scrubby, did you see that one? I thought Mehdi kicked arse, but he always does anyway. Case in point, he destroys peers. Whenever he goes on, he's good at doing that actually. Mind you, at this point, destroying peers is I'll probably be able to do it as well, fuck it.
values, gods, or bloodlines. Did they have an answer? No, of course not. That kind of question is miles above their intellectual pay grade. What did they focus on? The bloodlines, and started reading about racism, sex, and race mixing.
Why we think
because
like
of course
that, you
they
fucking
fucking
idiot.
did. So I just left. I got my reaction predictable as always. The point I'm trying to make here is this. Anyone who's paid attention to leftists knows these people have absolutely no brains whatsoever. They are utterly incapable of independent thought. This is a pattern that I've seen repeat.
Hi. Hello. 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 I have a degree, by the way. I'm a scientist. I have read history. I have read lots of different types of books. I can demolish that argument in one fucking word. Not that you'd fucking recognise it. Well said. Live in my shoes. See how you cope. Actually, having a functioning body might be helpful. I might be able to go out and protest. Do some mutual aid. Which will be good. But I expand. I talk to people here. On the internet. It works. People listen to me. Hopefully they will take something away from what I am saying when I'm dealing with fucking wankers like you. Why do these people exist? I forget how many of them there are, especially in online spaces. Aristocratic utensil. I am here if you want to talk. Scrubby, do you think it would be worth it? My niece is giving me her keyboard and her keyboard stand. And hopefully I'll be getting my stuff back. And my actual gaming chair, so Super Hubby can get his armchair back. I'm currently sitting in his armchair, which is forcing me to sit, well, it's not forcing me, it's helping me sit up straight and not hurt my spine so much. So I might actually start playing the piano again, which will be fun. It's been best part of 30 years since I've actually played anything for myself.
Repeatedly, pretty much as long as I've been alive and paying attention to politics. Now, if one happens to take a leisurely scroll through Cornboy's current X timeline, one gets the impression he's still the exact same idiot who owned his own ass in that debate against T-Jump 5 years ago, which might lead one to speculate either disturbing levels of indoctrination or severe cognitive impairment, possibly both. Now, this wanker somehow stumbled onto my channel. Here's the thumbnail for the video. My character looks rather swanky, doesn't he? Nice job with the grains and color scheme, just a shame the text makes me feel the need to fumigate myself. Safe to say, this was not a good video. How could it be? The attempt at commentary was done by a communist. This gimp was in my DMs trying to insult me into debating him. Dave the distributor's called winner this interaction, asking me why I'm interacting with this loser, because said loser called Dave's son an inbred Nazi.
Who knows?
What a genius we have over here. Again, I'm not even mad, just impressed with people this pathetic actually.
Didn't debate him. He just sat there.
Exist. In what world do you decay in, where after vomiting up wank like this, do you think anyone sane would engage with you? I mean, at this point, I simply disregard the existence of anyone who still uses the word Nazi. That becomes so comically overused, Uncle Adolf may as well be Dick Dastardly. Now, I imagine there might be one or two of Jake's fanboys that make it this far, or skip, who the hell knows. Seriously, get help, you poor bastards. Or some who think, but did you just poison the well by showing us all of this? Fair point. Now, let me answer that question with one of my own. How much of this asinine behavior must I bear witness to before I am permitted to tell these people to go fuck themselves? Dave is the patience of a saint. If even he got fed up of your bullshit, there is no way in hell I would entertain any of it. Hell, I would abstain purely out of respect for Dave's family, because Dave is an honorable gentleman who I actually respect. And by the way, Corn Boy, not the wisest move trying to berate my appearance when you've been cursed with the physiognomy of a Reddit user. It's not a matter of cowardice, it's a matter of sense and pattern recognition. I wouldn't go near you for the same reason I wouldn't go near a naked homeless man covered in fecal matter beckoning me into a dark alley. You both reek of desperation. It's absurd. Not to mention Jake is American and is therefore unable to comprehend how time zones work. He messaged me at 3 a.m. in the morning. What twat would get up at 3 a.m. to talk to some witless wanker who can't...
Do you not understand the concept of time zones? He wasn't demanding that you respond to him, he just wanted you to... Oh God, why am I even fucking bothering? At least you are roughly in my time zone, mostly. You might be an hour ahead of me, but that's roughly the same kind of... I am here.
Can't even engage with basic points resorts to insults and accusations of cowardice, all to coax someone to come on their crappy show. If you think I'm going to do any of that, you're even stupider than your politics. Now, having said all of that, because, I like to use situations like this as a teaching tool, Adam and Sitch actually responded to the comment that I left on the video and said, debate him, he's an idiot. Yeah, he is, and that's kind of the problem. It'd be as worthwhile as trying to teach quantum physics to a 5-year-old, which leads us to a
Have you talked to all
bit of a
5-year-olds?
conundrum with regards to the merits of so-called debating. Actually, no, on second thought, it's to do with conversing in general. This is something that occurred to me the last couple of weeks. Both liberals and conservatives employ a certain level of blank slate theory-ish when it comes to their worldview. The liberals more so than the conservatives, but I digress. Liberals believe human beings are all exactly the same, interchangeable cogs, malleable through sheer force, and so-called education, which doesn't sound creepy at all. The so-called party of science doesn't believe genetics is real. Then again, they don't believe biological sex is real either, and think the rainbow hippies are a product of science, not politics. It's
Gender is a social construct. We are not debating that biological sex still exists. Gender is a social construct. Women, hello, I am woman. I've always been a woman. I will always be a woman. I will die as a woman. My lovely sweetie is MB. DOB. They're my sweetie. My two sisters, they are women. My mum is a woman. My two nephews are my two nephews. They haven't decided what their pronouns are yet, but they're my nephews. My kind of brother-in-law, my younger sister's partner, he is a man. He is him. He is secure in that knowledge. He is not he's a centrist. He did vote Labour. Yeah. He knows I am a communist. He knows I am a Marxist. He knows I am woman. My mum knows I am a woman. Scrubby, do you know I am a woman? Biological sex, yes. Gender, social construct, and you can decide what your gender is. There is a connect, by the way, between how you feel here and what you feel everywhere else. I feel at home as woman. I feel at home as Marxist. I feel at home as an eco-socialist. Thank you. Feel free to come and talk to me about it and how these endemic situations carry on to this very day. Scrubby, is he some kind of libertarian? Well, from what he's about to say, probably not, or some kind of right wing fucking Egypt. From what he's about to say, he sounds definitely libertarian. You know, like your old school Heinlein sort of libertarian fucking nonsense. Kind of melee adjacent, let's put it that way, from what I'm hearing. But that is just my opinion, obviously. I don't know this man, I've never fucking met him. Same here. You will always be classed. Your gender, to me, is drummer, which is universal to me. But this is something different. I have met someone kind of close to this individual. Obviously, I doubt I'll ever meet this person or this individual. Again, I don't know this person's pronouns, but he definitely, from what he's saying, he definitely sounds he, him. Or attack helicopter, if you wish.
Oh, adorably insane. It's quite funny to me that they all profess to hate capitalism, but their worldview is entirely materialistic. They literally think all differences between humans will simply boil away and evaporate if we could only get together and consume in orgies of gay sex.
Doesn't work like that, you fucking idiot.
Think about it. I mean, not literally because that's vile, but you know what I mean. Actually, come to think of it, libertarians largely believe the latter as well, only they're high doing it. The moment you try and suggest to them that the human experience is beyond merely gather resources and fuck, is the moment you frame break these lemmings. It's like you pitch another dimension of existence they can't conceptualize. Leftists, not libertarians, by the way. This also explains why James Lindsay is an acid casualty fruitcake. Thank you, CJ, for that line. Which goes to show you, they don't become more intelligent without Christianity. No. They regress and become even more animalistic and herd-like. Despite their obsession with the science, in practice they're disturbingly primitive, come to think of it. And don't get them started on government either, my word. You're an authoritarian, you believe in Sky Daddy, and you believe in an army of bureaucrats, or the benevolence of Jesus Christ, utterly immune to the corruption of power, who will always obey the nebulous will of the people. And you think I'm the delusional one? You must be taking the piss. My form of civilization already existed. It birthed the greatest empires and civilizations the world has ever known. Meanwhile, all your worldviews amounted to is a mass grave of corpses.
Hasn't done
Spare us
that
from
either.
civil ramblings, you impish gopher. Everyone knows this. Nothing the left believes in is real. The further into leftism you go, the closer you get to a padded cell in a mental asylum. This is why when the riots in California kicked off, looking at the responses from them in Mexico, academic agents said on a live stream, the Democratic Party should just be banned. What we saw was current government officials openly cheering on an invasion by a foreign power. The Democratic Party does not believe.
Yes, they do. That's part of the fucking problem, you fucking dickhead. Read the news. Read anything, please, for the love of God. And I say that as a fucking atheist. There is no almighty Sky Daddy, in my opinion. To all my Catholic and Protestant comrades, trust me, there are Protestants who are Marxists and communists and socialists, by the way. Don't believe the hype. They have their faith, but they have their politics as well. They're not evangelicals. They're quite decent people. I'll give them that. They're quite good. I was born and brought up Protestant, by the way, so. What are these people not getting? Even just to fucking educate them, it might actually help them. You might end up staying an absolute fucking idiot. More than likely, actually, come to think of it. It doesn't work like that in certain societies. Doesn't work like that in my society here in Scotland, here in Glasgow. Thank you. Plus, politics shapes the way society runs as well.
Even the concept of the nation state, let alone the rule of law. AA was right. It's not a serious political party. It's a glorified student protest group. I'll come back to why this matters in a few moments. I legitimately believe if you showed the modern Western civilian to the philosophers of the old world, they would probably think their descendants have all been cursed and gone insane.
That happened
Not
in their
exactly a
societies
far-fetched
as well,
conclusion,
by
if you
the
ask me.
way.
Just look at them. But that's a liberal mindset in a nutshell for you. Sheer lunacy. Now, how the conservatives flirt with the blank slate theory is through this program they call Facts and Logic. And they believe this program to be imbued with a certain universal quality because it's objectively true. Now, that might be the case, but here's the problem. Conservatives fail to understand what I call the animation principle. Look at what the left believes in. Is any of it objectively true? No, it's all bollocks. So if they're willing to believe sheer bollocks, what the hell makes you think they're going to simply take the facts and logic like a fish to water? That is in itself illogical. Facts and logic do not animate leftists. Well, at least not positively anyway. It makes them spurg. And you don't want them to spurg. You want them to accept the programming. I like that they're trying to sell sobriety to a bunch of drug addicts. You could think sobriety is the greatest thing since sliced bread all you want, but there is no way in hell you're going to sell sobriety to a bunch of people.
I see this as someone who drinks. I drink and I know things. Thank you, Tyrion, and thank you, George R.R. Martin, for the best line ever written down in the English language. I know all this shit. I know what has happened because I read history. I have my own lived experience. I see what has happened. I speak to other people about their lived experience as well. Where's the disconnect for you? I can educate you, trust me on this. I can. In my own individual way, obviously. But there is gradations in society. They've been set up this way for fucking centuries, especially here in Europe. Why do you think most of the colonised world thinks the way we do and try to aspire to it? It is all fucking dog shit at times. There is hope somewhere in different little pockets in societies across the globe. You need to read up on them to actually get a fuller picture of what it's like to live on this planet, controlled by the Western hegemony. I'm debating whether I could actually read through to him. Maybe. Would he talk to a femoid? Maybe he's aye, maybe he's no. No.
Who enjoy being off their tits. Your first task is not to change their belief structure. No. Rather find out why they believe what they do, and more importantly, how. Especially if you can tell what they believe makes no bloody sense. Now, leftists, despite their insanity, are actually very simple to understand. In fact, they're no different than any other group of people in any other place or time. In spite of their raging cries against hierarchy, they still operate according to hierarchical structure. Militantly so, in fact. It's why they're so effective. You see, in the old world, you had the church, fathers, heads of the household, so on and so on.
Matriarchal societies
Values
existed.
are passed down, top down, from the authority figures. Always. And leftists are no exception. Leftists, even though they declare themselves secular atheists, whatever the hell that means.
It means they don't believe in a higher God or an Abrahamic God if you're from a European nation or any of the colonised countries across the globe where the European hegemon existed. What's he not fucking getting here? I've read Aristotle as well. Oh, you knew I was a Hellenist, didn't you, Scribby? I have read Aristotle. I've also read Diogenes, praise be. Diogenes, the absolute lunatic that he is. But dear God, he was amazing. Don't get me wrong, the society he lived in, actually philosophised in, was kind of garbage. But we were learning shit. Yeah. In certain aspects, Aristotle was good. He was. So was Plato. Socrates, Gorgias, he can fuck off. He'd probably be classed as a libertarian, kinda, going on what I've read of him, or what he's wrote. For what we have, at least. I do kind of appreciate Aristotle. Mostly. But yeah. These kind of people need dealt with, really. I appreciate Jake for what he done there. And this absolute stain is ruining Jake. I love Jake. Jake is good. But this man has no faith. He just does blind arguments and expects people just to take it. Naughty, naughty. You're meant to invite people in and say your piece and debate with the other person. You're not doing that in this section. You're just blindly slating this individual without actually talking to him enough. So no. Incorrect. Yeah. Slavery existed, obviously. Christ, I've got a funny feeling he'd probably be fine with slavery, from what I'm hearing. As always, these people do exist and we need to deal with them. Even just to get them to shut the fuck up and stop preaching. Don't get me wrong, a lot of leftists do preach. Some of us are guilty of that at times. Don't get me wrong. I try not to do it too much. I sometimes fail. If I feel I can reach through to people, it would be a good thing. Sometimes I do actually, it's quite fun. When I actually get to see people actually think, oh my god, this person's actually correct. Oh my god, I've been thinking like this for far too long. Seeing that breakthrough, oh, what a rush. Then they can go on and implement that in their life. Fucking amazing. I have actually managed to change 5 people in my life, and I'm only 46. So there is time for me to convert more people, with any luck.
At this point, they have their goals as well. It's the regime and academia. And given that they're all midwits, they've been duped into believing that because academia is not religious but rather factual, supposedly anyway, data can't be corrupted or used for malevolent purposes. And if you buy that premise, man, there is nothing you won't believe. They're like drunken pigs. They will consume literally anything so long as it comes from their temple of authority. There comes a point where their obsession with data ceases to appear like a mind that's well informed, but rather one that uses it as a crutch, because without it they'd be forced to think for once in their miserable lives, which would no doubt cause some kind of mental breakdown. They're not inquisitive creatures by any means. No, when push comes to shove, they're ultimately just programmable drones. They want to be seen as Sims who glorify the regime. They don't use data to map out a coherent worldview. No, they use data the same way a program needs input variables, or else it doesn't do anything. Without the input variables, they're objectively useless. To leftists, everything is about optics because they're all spiritually women. There's no wonder they believe people are malleable. It's because they are. By the way, after I wrote the script, Andrew Wilson
Nearly
debated
done,
racism,
Stevie, don't
boy,
worry.
and my word, everything I wrote in this video, that kid personifies to a T. It's actually really creepy. And this is something conservatives repeatedly fail to understand. In fact, I would say there's two things that conservatives need to recognize. The main one being John Locke was an idiot and consent.
He said that the powers that be read this and said, fuck that. We will enforce our consent on the individuals onto society. That's what he was warning about. They read that and think, holy fuck, and changed what he said in their rhetoric. My God, I can't believe I'm actually promoting Georgius. Read Georgius, you fucking dickhead. Read Locke, then go back a couple of thousand years and read Georgius. They both basically say the same fucking thing from a different angle. Thank God, my lovely my comparative religion teacher was a Marxist. He gave me the Communist Manifesto and the first two volumes of Das Kapital, or The Capital, for me to read when I was 15 years old. That's how I can actually coherently talk about Marx, oddly enough, and Engels, and kind of Buchanan. Still can't pronounce his name right. I can talk about them because I've read them, and I can give my interpretation of them. Go back, read Georgius, then read Locke. Fuck it, I'll throw Hobbes in there as well if you like. He's on the other slant. Maybe you should read those three guys first. Might actually get a better understanding of the world we live in. I'm not entirely sure you might.
Of the government is bullshit. Orrin McIntyre pointed this out some months back. When Biden ran for office, did the Democrats run on transient kids and open borders? No. But once they were in power, that's what they did. The Democrats actually understand that democracy isn't real. The will of the people does not exist. They don't care about consent. They just rule. They're not trying to win anyone over because they have power and their base is loyal. Another thing conservatives can't seem to wrap their heads around, which makes no sense because they, for some reason, can understand this when it comes to guns but not power. Just because your enemy uses a weapon, it does not mean you are equally reprehensible if you use the same damn weapon. Power is neutral. What matters is why you use it. The conservatives need to understand that when it comes to values, voluntarism is bullshit. Values do not come from the ability to partake or abstain. Values are imposed and enforced. Oh, that sounds terribly authoritarian. Who cares? It's functional. Liberty is for the crying peasantry. Order is king. Oh, we don't want to impose our values. That's what the Democrats do. They're going to do it anyway, regardless of what the hell you do, you idiots. As a matter of fact, they're going to do it more because you're too weak and stupid to enforce yours. This is why the conservatives will forever be cocked by this nonsense of consent. Look at how the Democrats treat their own. They don't try to appeal to them because they understand their ilk are just lemmings to revere them as an authority. They have no values, no principles, no core beliefs of any kind. They're just empty vessels who defer to power. They will believe literally anything, even to their own detriment. What kind of imbecile tries to speak rationally to cultists? This is also why showing them to be inconsistent hypocrites doesn't do anything. They don't believe in values. They believe in power. You're not imposing it on your allies. Your allies already agree with you. You're imposing it on valueless, unprincipled midwits who clamor to be led anyway. So there's no ethical dilemma here. Hell, I would go so far as to say you have an obligation to enforce your will and dominate, especially if you know you'll get better results. It is astonishing to me how stupid conservatives are. They will acknowledge not all people are the same, but when it comes to politics, that's the philosophy they choose to adopt. Why? I would never look at people as stupid as leftists and think they are somehow my equal, capable of understanding much of anything, especially considering their gullibility. Your job is not to install a different program. Your job is to tear out the operating system. And failing that, recognize the hardware is obsolete, but that's a whole nother video. The only way the conservatives will ever win anything is if they grow a pair of balls and recognize the cold hard reality that free will is a pile of arse. People don't need to be governed, they need to be ruled with an iron fist. Cheers for watching. Once again, I apologize for nothing.
That's what I was thinking. I will be back momentarily. Hello. Give me a second.
The 17th century English philosopher John Locke is to be remembered for his wise and brilliant contributions to three great issues that continue to concern us to this day: how we should educate our children, who should rule over us, and what we should do about people who have different religious ideas to us. Locke was born into a quiet Somerset village in 1632. He was 10 years old when the English Civil War broke out, and his father became a captain in the Parliamentary Army. King Charles I was publicly executed in 1649, just a few feet away from where Locke was studying at Westminster School. The screams of the crowds heard in the library marked him deeply. Locke went on to study medicine at Oxford and planned to be a doctor, but his life changed significantly when by chance he became acquainted with the dashing and highly ambitious Whig politician Anthony Ashley Cooper, known as the first Earl of Shaftesbury, who'd come to Oxford to look for a cure for a liver disease he had. Cooper suggested that Locke move to London to become part of his household. The offer was hard to resist, and once part of Cooper's entourage, Locke began to participate in the great scientific, educational, religious, and political debates of the day. Along the way, he also helped to cure Shaftesbury of his liver complaint, earning his lifelong gratitude. The first question Locke grew fascinated by was what to do with people who don't agree with your religious views. In breaking away from the Catholic Church under Henry VIII in the 16th century, English Protestantism had started a process of noisy questioning of religion that couldn't now easily be stopped. Because this was threatening to get out of hand, there were arguments that there should be total government control over religion and a hard crackdown on dissenters. But Locke became one of the foremost advocates of freedom of belief in his beautiful Essay Concerning Toleration, written in 1667. Here he advocated toleration on the basis of 3 points. Firstly, because earthly judges, the state in particular and human beings in general, cannot dependably evaluate the truth claims of competing religious standpoints. Secondly, even if they could, enforcing a single true religion would never work, because you can't be compelled into belief through violence. And thirdly, coercing religious uniformity leads to far more social disorder than allowing diversity. Locke argued that the ultimate aim of the state was just to preserve the quiet and comfortable living of men in society, but that it hath nothing to do with the good of men's souls. Religion was a personal choice, and churches were voluntary organizations which could set their own rules and be left to it. It was thanks to Locke's influence that the idea of locking up people for their beliefs fell entirely out of favour. By the 18th century, other European nations looked with envy at England, a place where what you happened to believe was simply deemed irrelevant to your status or prospects. This was a truly remarkable achievement for one book by one man to have set in train. But Locke didn't stop there. In 1689 he published a second extraordinary book, The Two Treatises of Government. This tried to answer the question of who should rule the country and on what legitimate basis. One common yet increasingly fanciful notion at the time was that political authority derived directly from God. But a more recent explanation from Thomas Hobbes had asserted that the totalitarian power of kings was justified by their ability to keep order and prevent repetitions of the chaos that had reigned, Hobbes had insisted, in the time before powerful governments, and that he had called the state of nature. By painting the state of nature in the darkest colours, Hobbes had asked his readers to set themselves low expectations for what a decent ruler was meant to be. Anything better than the savagery of the Stone Age was legitimate, and rulers had no responsibility to guarantee religious freedom or human rights. But now, in the first treatise, Locke thoroughly demolished the scriptural claim that God had created kings, and in the second treatise he took on Hobbes's ideas about the state of nature. Locke agreed with Hobbes that before and without government there would have been a state of nature, but he disagreed what this place would actually have been like. He argued that it would have been broadly peaceful, and that in agreeing to submit to governments, people had therefore not fearfully agreed to surrender all their rights. In fact, they possessed a range of inalienable or natural rights that no ruler could ever take away. Locke insisted that people had voluntarily consented to cede some of their personal freedoms, but only insofar as it better preserved their rights. They couldn't be expected to give up these rights entirely, as that would just defeat the point of joining society in the first place. If a ruler started to act like a tyrant and unfairly deprive their subjects of their freedom or property, the subjects were then entirely within their rights to withdraw their consent, overthrow their ruler, and set up a new government. Locke's work hugely influenced the development of Western societies, and in particular the American Declaration of Independence. For example, in its insistence on the separation of church and state, and in the Second Amendment's right to bear arms, a clear descendant of Locke's view that a people should always retain both the right and the means to overthrow government. Locke made one other great innovation, this time in education, in his book Some Thoughts Concerning Education of 1693. This was possibly the most influential book on education ever written. In 1684, an aristocrat called Edward Clarke asked Locke for advice on raising his son and heir. Though he was unmarried and never had children of his own, and by all accounts didn't actually enjoy their company that much, Locke responded with a series of letters that he eventually turned into a book. Locke began by saying that all of us start off in life with minds that are blank, tabula rasa, he called them, in another famous work, his Essay Concerning Human Understanding of 1689. The idea ran contrary to prevailing views that our minds are fitted at birth with all sorts of ideas about religion, ethics, morality, and government. Locke argued that everything we think, believe, know, or conjecture is actually derived from experience, from the simple ideas we receive from sensations in the outside world, or internal reflections on the processes of our own understandings. Led Locke to the belief that education was absolutely crucial to how people turn out. I think I may say that of all the men we meet with, 9 parts of 10 are what they are, good or evil, useful or not, because of education. Locke believed that we are very vulnerable to the ideas that people place in our minds when we're children. He wrote, "The little and almost insensible impressions on our tender infancies have very important and lasting consequences." He argued that the association of ideas that one makes when young are more important than those made later because they are the foundations of ourselves. So he warned famously against letting a foolish maid convince a child that goblins and spirits are associated with the night, for darkness shall ever afterwards bring with it those frightful ideas. Locke is the forerunner of our own parenting techniques, in which we proceed under the assumption that everything that happens to a child, whether they have a nice time at the zoo with us or get enough cuddles at the age of 4, plays an enormous role in later life. These ideas didn't pop into our heads just like that. Without us necessarily knowing it, they are the work of a gaunt, wise philosopher of 17th century England. Locke also had some fascinating thoughts about what should be on the educational curriculum. He hated the idea of children learning what he called useless subjects, like Latin, Greek, music, or poetry, only to study what would be of practical assistance to them later in life, which meant science, ethics, business, and what we nowadays call psychology, instructions on how we can best calm ourselves, be kind, and understand others. He wanted, though he didn't directly use the phrase, that we should study at schools of life. Locke died in October 1704. He was one of the most famous men in Europe and continues to influence us hugely to this day. It is because of him that we believe in religious toleration, that we believe that governments should not tyrannize their subjects, and that we try so hard to give our own children good childhoods.
I quite like that. Oh, you had to do it that way. You can either go with fucking Adam Smith or Karl Marx. Oh dear God, Hobbes versus Locke. That would be quite fun. Nope. Fuck you, Eric Blair. Go away. Those other three might be quite interesting. Was he? Ooh, cool. Hang on, didn't Lobster Boy, wasn't that where he used to work at McGill? Okay. Oh, what the hell? Come on. Gimme.
To be sure to do that and for you to know that the things are genuine. We couldn't. This is the final installment of the Critical Thinkers in Religion, Law, and Social Theory. I'd like to say that this series was inspired in part by what's happening at University of Victoria. And early on, I talked to some colleagues at University of Victoria, and Professor Tully is also involved in that series. So I just want to acknowledge the inspiration for what we're doing here has come from the other side of Canada. I have a number of thank yous, and this is my final opportunity to thank people for all they have done and contributed to the series. So I'd like to be sure to do that and for you to know that the things are genuine. We couldn't have pulled the series together without all of the parts I'm about to mention. First of all, my co-organizers, Andre Liberté, who is, I don't know, he's right there, Pascal Fournier, who is here, is here, Elke Winter, who I don't see, but I'm sure she will be here. She always is. So thank you to my co-organizers for helping to pull this together. Also for the day-to-day pulling together of it, someone who is always working tirelessly to make sure all of the details are correct. That one she already knows. She's going, no, thank me. Heather Shipley at the back, the person in the black shirt with the necklace, she does everything from making sure that posters are where they're supposed to be, to making sure the caterer comes, to making sure the guest speaker is collected from the hotel, ensuring the hotel reservation is made, all of the stuff that makes the nitty-gritty of this happen. So Heather, thank you so much. Spencer Bullock, who's right there, and Tori Gunn, I'm not sure if Tori's here today, he usually is. Both have helped us to set up video, make sure again that the posters are delivered and where they're supposed to be properly. Tori had started us off on the design of the posters, so thanks to both of you. Also now, thank you for people who contributed financially to make this happen. The Faculty of Arts and VP of Research, the Faculty of Law, Civil Division, the Department of Classics and Religious Studies, and again, I also just want to acknowledge that my colleague Naomi Goldenberg has made it partially mandatory for her one of her undergraduate classes to come to this series this year, and we've enjoyed having you, if any of you are here today, so thank you very much for coming. Last but not least, the graduate students in the Religious Studies program have been tireless supporters of the series, and so I'd like to again acknowledge your support and thank you very much. So today, the lecture on responsible citizenship. It's my great pleasure to introduce James Tully. He's the University of Victoria Distinguished Professor of Political Science. His recent publications include Public Philosophy in the New Key, which is 2 volumes, as some of you know as you've been trying to read it. There's Alka Winter, who I thanked earlier. 2 volumes. As some of you have been working through that as I have, you'll know that it's a wonderful contribution to the dialogue on citizenship and public philosophy. And a book that introduced me to Professor Tully's work, which is Strange Multiplicity, Constitutionalism in an Age of Diversity. And I think I assigned this in every class I ever taught after I read it for about 10 years. So I'm very grateful for that work. I think it's a huge contribution. It's truly become a classic. And I recommend both it and the new contribution that Professor Tully is making to our thinking and to intellectual dialogue in this country and indeed beyond. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Professor James Tully.
Thank you very much, Cory. Thank you, Heather, too, for getting me here today. So today I'm just going to read a text on responsible citizenship and then take about 55 minutes. And then I hope we have a healthy discussion. But I think the best way to do this presentation is to read it, because if I start talking about the text, I won't get through the points I'd like to get through. So it's the title is on responsible citizenship, and I'm trying to work on the relationship between people in academic life who are working on global problems and citizens who are confronting these global problems on the ground. And the kind of citizens I'm thinking about that are working on global problems on the ground is what I call responsible citizens. And by that I just mean responsible citizens exercise their responsibilities to confront major global problems, either locally or globally. And let me illustrate what I mean by this by picking out 4 problems that I'll use as illustrations throughout the presentation. I think these 4 global problems are familiar to everybody. The first is the problem of environmental damage or environmental destruction and climate change. The second is the problem of the horrendous inequalities, exploitation, and poverty of the global south. The third is the problem of global war and militarization. And fourth is this problem of distrust and disrespect for different civilizations and different religions. So 4 huge, both local and global problems. These global problems, I think, are interconnected. The historical processes of modernization, industrialization, Western expansion, exploitation of the world's resources, and economic globalization that are the cause of the ecological crisis are also the major cause of the inequalities between the North and the South. The primary purpose of the huge global military empire of the United States is to protect and expand the very processes of economic globalization that are deeply implicated in the ecological and inequality problems. The ranking of peoples and their different religious or civilizational ways of life as either respect-worthy or threatening are also closely related to their conformity or non-conformity to Western modernization. So when citizens try to exercise their civic responsibilities in response to these 4 problems, they find, I think, that the official modes of citizenship available to them are not very effective. The official institutions and channels of citizenship are limited. Moreover, as we'll see, these limits often shield from public engagement the very processes and institutions that partly cause the 4 global problems. These limits on official channels of citizenship thus lead to a 5th problem, the limitation, or what's often called the incapacitation, of responsible citizenship. This limitation on and ineffectiveness of the exercise of civic capacities or capabilities in a more extended sense is what we call a democratic deficit of local and global citizenship. My aim in this lecture, then, is to explore the limitations that incapacitate responsible citizens and the main responses to these limitations by citizens in attempting to confront the 4 global problems I mentioned. And I take up this, I try and explore this problem in 2 ways. The first part I set out what I take to be the dominant form or official form of modern citizenship, and I simply call this modern citizenship. It's an institutionalized mode of citizenship that certainly enables a type of citizen participation, yet also limits the effectiveness of a participation in protecting public goods from the four global harms I mentioned. And then in a transitional phase, I mentioned the ways in which people have tried to reform this institutionalized mode of citizenship, and then the criticisms that have come downstream of the attempts at reform. Then in the second and longest part of the paper, I look at alternative modes of citizenship that people have invented over the last 100 years, either inside or alongside or underneath or outside of the institutions of modern citizen, alternative ways of being a citizen that they find are more effective in confronting these four global problems. And I call this second category cooperative citizenship. And the main project in the paper, really, in the second part, is to clarify this, what I'm trying to capture under this big umbrella term, cooperative citizenship. But I don't think we can understand its distinctiveness unless we compare and contrast it with the modern mode of citizenship, which you're all familiar with. But I think I'm going to give a slightly different interpretation about how it fits together. So here's the first part, just the modern citizenship module that you'll get for the next about 12 or 13 minutes. So modern citizenship, then, is the dominant mode of citizenship today, conceives of citizenship in terms of, first, the status that an individual has in terms of rights and duties, secondly, relative to a set of allegedly universal legal, political, and economic institutions, and thirdly, relative to a set of historical processes of modernization that bring about the preconditions. It's a modular or institutionalized form of citizenship associated with the modernization of the West and with the spread of this form of citizenship in its modern institutions, states, representative governments, and capitalist markets throughout the world. Spread first by colonization and since decolonization by policies of reconstruction and democratization of the great powers and the institutions of global government. It's presented as a universal form of citizenship for all peoples. Other forms are represented as pre-modern or less developed or anti-modern. It's standardly said to be the duty or the mission of the Western states to bring this form of citizenship to other peoples, either in the name of civilization or modernization, or more recently in the name of democracy and freedom. So let's look at the features of this modern citizenship module in some detail. First, as I said, it's understood as a status that an individual has relative to a set of institutions. One's a citizen relative to a structure of law to which one is subject. The imposition of formal structures of law lay the groundwork for the status of citizen. The civil law civilizes, that is, creates the conditions of civilization and of civility. It civilizes, as we say since decolonization. It modernizes. Outside the rule of law, there is no civilization and no citizenship. This status of modern citizenship is defined, first of all, relative to a structure of law. It's defined, I think, in terms of 4 tiers of rights and duties. And I just want to run through these 4. They're tiered in the sense that the first one has priority. So there are 4 tiers of rights and duties. These sit on a set of institutions, and these institutions are brought about by a set of processes. So it's a whole package in that sense. The first and most important tier of rights is the negative liberties of modern subjects.
Thank you, Scribby.
These modern liberties consist of the liberty of the individual or of the corporate person, of free speech, of thought and faith, of formal equality before the law, and of the economic liberty to own private property and to enter into contracts. As we can see, this first tier of modern liberties contains a whole family of civil rights and duties. However, within this family, there's one member that's weightier than the others, and the others are usually ranked relative to its primacy. This weighty member is, of course, the modern liberty to enter into the private economic sphere, to engage in market freedoms and free trade, and to be protected from interference. This first tier of the rights of modern liberty is primary. It's literally the liberty of the moderns, and has been since 1819. Next, we can see that this first tier of rights of modern citizenship presupposes not only the rule of law that underpins it, but also a set of economic institutions in terms of which it makes sense. That's to say, for us to be able to exercise our market freedoms in the private sphere, there just must be capitalist markets, the dispossession of the people from other relationships to their land and sources, and labor powers by means of the establishment of private property, labor markets, and corporations, and the corresponding system of property, contract, and labor law. Next, the often violent historical processes of modernization that remove or restructure any existing alternative forms of economic organization, put in place underlying modern institutions, and then socialize or modernize subjects in the exercise of their corresponding rights and duties as modern freedoms, are called by various names by both their defenders on the right and the critics on the left. Sometimes called prior accumulation in classical political economy, primitive accumulation, Marxism, global enclosure movements, commodification, marketization, and simply economic or neoliberal globalization today. These processes of modernization in turn presuppose an authoritative exercise of coercion. Historically, this has taken the form of the modern European state, the spread of colonies as themselves proto-states, and the institutions of a worldwide military network and local dependent elites with the capacity to impose, extend, and protect these institutions from the resistance of the millions who are subjected to the dispossession, inequality, exploitation, and environmental degradation that these processes often have caused over the last 5 centuries. So this first tier of modern citizenship rights on its pyramid of institutions and processes, the liberties of the moderns, is paramount. It's the right not to be interfered with in these activities by the demos. And the liberties of the moderns provides, I think, a major justification for the global spread of legal and economic preconditions and for the opening of societies to free trade, that is, for economic modernization. Okay, that's the first tier. The second tier, the rights of modern citizens, the rights to participate in representative elections, the public sphere, and civil society. On this field of participation, citizens don't exercise capacities of self-government themselves. They're set to delegate these to representatives. Citizens rather exercise communicative and influence power, as Habermas puts it, in elections and deliberation in the public sphere.
Sorry, my comrades. I need to go. I'll see who I can raid. I can stick around for a little bit longer, but I'm going to end my stream. Let's see who we can go and annoy. Quickly. What about Jack? Spelled back of ice. Weenie. Ooh, maple. Cultivars. Actual Jake. Deer. Way. Try. That color. No part. In. Suncat. Fire. Jasmine. Okay. I will leave you to go wherever. I'll tell you who's live. Give me a minute. I will say who is live, so you can go if you want to go. Igloo. Igloo will be good. Riverboat Jack. She is awesome. Spilled Bag of Ice. Carlos be good. And so will be Spilled Bag of Ice. Complainy Laney. I love her. We have the second best Canadian in his own words, Mabel Takes. We have Cult of Eyes. He be good. We have Actual Jake, who is actually good, people. We have Scottideer. We have Segway Films. We have Kai over at Proudly Radical. He is an anarchist. He be based. We have the Dab Father. Hello, the Dab Father. We have Water Porch. We have Bean. Bean is good. Bean Luncheon. We have Root Circuit. They be based. And rather fun. We have Kyle Coliseum. We have Yala Yasmin. We have Ren. Ren be good. Ren be a brilliant artist who I will hire at some point. And we have Backpack Debbie. She be good. I will love you and leave you. I will carry on with James Tully later today. Oh, Christ's sake, it's 5:45. I definitely need to get a nap in anyway. I will love you and leave you. Thank you for being here. You have been awesome. I have been me. Good night. Hydrate. Stay based. Goodbye.